Yeah, I learned to stay strong. Concrete in the dirt, I was raised on.
Authentically
Know how to
wrong.
put in work. Grinding all day, you know it's game on. My skin is thick, yeah, it's tough. Running, yeah, we stay alive. Ain't gotta look nowhere else. All of this greatness inside.
All this greatness inside.
Who is that?
Ooh, I need to give proper homage, homage, honor, whatever, to whoever it is. It is free to use that music. I'll have to get his name, and I will post a link on our conversation in this episode for him. So it's an awesome. When you go listen to the words, it is an awesome, awesome. So this is episode 27. Thank you all for All About the Grind that are here. I'm sitting with Debbie Pascoe. Mm-hmm. Is that correct?
You got it.
Okay, listen. This is not an infomercial. I think it'll weave in and out of, because I think it integrates into your life of who you are and your business. Yeah. But that's not why I asked her on here. So we'll get to why. You'll see why in just a little bit. So I'm curious. I like to start in the beginning. Okay. So beginning to me is just wherever you find it. But like early influences and growing up, was it casual, normal, children? Were you the only child?
No, I was the oldest of four.
Okay, oldest of four.
I think that's like a shaper of who
Thank
you
you.
are.
That's why I asked, because it helps me ask questions. I'm a middle child. So see. Oh no, we're gonna get into it. You're here to help me. You think I'm just here to help you. Okay. You're here to help me.
Yeah, I was here for that.
Yes, oldest of four. Oh my gosh. So okay, this also makes a difference, I think, to me. Boys or girls, brothers and sisters?
No, 2 girls, then 2 boys.
Oh, okay. So you,
and
2 more, then one more daughter,
and
one more sister,
2 brothers,
and then 2 rowdy brothers.
Yeah.
Mud between the toes, running through the woods, that kind of guy.
Oh yeah, beating each other up.
Yes.
Yeah, all the things.
And then you were the parent.
Yeah, the little mom.
The little mom. When mom's away, watch these. Hey, make sure I'm just going to run up the road. Because it was the 80s.
It was the 80s. But okay, so that dynamic is you're told, okay, you're in charge. Make sure this or that happens. And it's already
ingrained in you.
Anyway, right?
Yeah.
And then,
well, not in me, but in you.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
And then whenever something would happen and I would do the thing that I do, I'd be like, you are not the mom.
All the responsibility and none of the power.
And none of the glory.
None of the glory. Let the boat hit the dock one damn time. And so the age part, because this also for me makes a difference. The age between?
Yeah, so.
Pretty close?
Yeah.
So just
by the time I was 8, all 4 of us were here.
Yeah, because they just put them together in the 80s. We
right.
just,
Yep.
Right?
Yeah.
We knock them out in order. We line up our life
Just
and we
bang.
work.
Yeah.
Baby boomers were just.
The only reason you don't like me and my sister are apart is because my mom had miscarriages between. Mm-hmm. So that's why we weren't closer.
Yeah, my mother calls my younger sister, who is 9 years younger than me, a miracle child.
That's cool.
Hold, please.
That's our bullshit meter.
Oh, crap.
Oh.
Okay, Lord. We're going to leave that one alone.
There's another one under that.
Yeah, hold, please. Oh, listen, the rails are coming off.
Look, there's another one under that.
Oh, no, it has to be this one.
Oh.
Oh, no, it has to be this one.
Well, you got to go underneath the
Oh, yeah, we're going under. We're going under.
He uses 1 pencil per episode.
Why? Oh. You're such a man.
A little weird to you?
No, it's a man. You're just being a man.
This one.
Okay.
I mark them.
Oh, okay.
If you really want to know the truth.
All right.
There's one up top.
We haven't done the ceiling thing yet. Huh? We haven't done the ceiling yet.
No. That was absolute chaos right there, and I love it, to be honest with you. I love the fact that it didn't go perfect, but damn it, this is what I do in my life. Go again. Yeah. No miracle child. Okay, you know what, Dave? We're going to put the pencil sharpener up front.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Or just sharpen your pencil before the...
No, it's a bullshit meter.
Oh.
So, you're not that. But trust me, we've had a few in here as they're talking. And we while they're talking.
We didn't need that, or I got to get the horn on the Procaster.
I don't want that, because everybody can do a horn.
So now you've just warned me I don't give you any bullshit, because you're going to...
Yeah, I would. Well, if I catch it. I'm not that good. and I'm not looking to catch it. I try to catch me.
He does it more on himself.
Well, I was gonna say, I also by default, I just tell the truth because it's just easier anyway.
I was a liar growing up.
Oh.
Well, okay, it wasn't because Okay, let me back up. I can't say, see, I'm so hard on myself. I wasn't a liar growing up, but I certainly lied. I didn't
everybody
feel
does.
comfortable with who I was.
Uh-huh.
We didn't have this isn't like a boohoo me my life. It's just my life. But we didn't have a TV growing up.
Okay.
So all these kids, I go to school and you'd be talking about all these fun, I didn't fit in anyways in my head.
Oh.
And then I didn't have the social skills to fit in. I'm still the guy I am, socially awkward. I appear to fit in, but I don't. I really don't trust anybody, but I do. I want to, but I can't. It's just all this funkiness, and that was from a
Because
childhood.
you're in your head.
As we've gotten deeper in this, it's been interesting. Everybody says quit talking about the past. I don't know if you can quit talking about the past until you deal with it.
I agree. I think you have, but here's the thing. So, okay, want to get deep now?
See, this
Okay.
is what I'm talking about.
So-
I do.
Okay. You have to deal with the past. You have to look at it, address it, and get through it and get past it and not live in it. And I think one of the biggest problems with like not just young people, but mostly young people, but people nowadays is they make the past define their present.
Well, that's me.
But you don't have to.
I
Like you
know.
can look at it and analyze it
Yep.
and like be like, okay, but I choose da 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 da.
Yep.
You know?
I didn't know I had a choice. And it was the delusion of whatever, why. See, the thing that saved my life is when I got around men that taught me why is not my responsibility. Here's how. Here's what I want you to do. Are you willing to do this? And then this is just my experience. There's many ways around it. And then through doing, the whys became evident. And that was pretty neat for me. Meaning I didn't even understand why they wanted me to get on my knees physically and pray. I mean, I've prayed 1,000 times. I've been in church 1,000,000 times. I can quote scriptures left and right, but it never stopped me from doing stupid things or impulse controls or, I mean, my brother, he put 5.5 years in prison. I mean, he came from the same family, good family, and no district. He did his time and he's been out for decades, a good member of society. But where'd that come from? It was impulse controls, and he was my older brother, and there was a lot of that I didn't know how to deal with.
Well, that's okay. That's almost exactly what you were saying before about like how you can take the past
Yep.
and what you do with the past. And I'm sure everybody's heard the story about like the two brothers.
Yep.
And one is the upstanding, successful,
Yep.
whatever, and the other one's the loser, drunk, beats his
Yep.
wife. And
But are they really that much different?
well, for both of them, one is
Listen to this, Dave.
yeah. So one is like a teetotaler and is a good father and husband and everything. Anyway,
That's a good
they were
word.
both approached, why are you the way you are? Like, why did you make the decisions you made? And both of them had the same answer. And it was, well, I grew up in an abusive household. My father was an abuser. I, had this horrible childhood. What other choice did I have? So
Victim?
you can take, you can either be the victor or the victim, right?
Yeah.
And it's like your past doesn't define you. What you decide to do with that
So
is what
tell
defines you.
me, tell me where that, right before the past doesn't define you, but right before what you said, tell me where that began in you.
The victim or victor thing?
Yeah.
Okay, but I'm not going too deep. Okay.
No, listen, you control this. Yeah, I'm not looking for like Jerry Springer. I just,
Okay, yeah.
there was something that started you
He's
on
my
a,
man.
Yeah, right, exactly. You are not the father. No, but I mean, because it helps me, because I was a middle kid and I was that guy that grew up. And you're right, my brother and I are similar in some ways and not so much in others, in business and life. We've probably taken different journeys, but I think when you talk to us, we're at the core of this very similar.
Mm-hmm.
And it always interests me why he chose the path he did and I went my route. The only thing I can come up with is my willingness to be brutally honest and have the best self-reflection I can for that day. And I'm not perfect at it.
I think that is very insightful because
It was taught to me. I didn't come up with it.
Okay,
I just
well,
want to
it's-
be clear.
okay, but it's very insightful because like, they say like any kind of like impulse or pain or whatever
Yep.
that you're going through, it's like, it's a wave.
Yep.
And the thing that makes the wave last longer or like you're stuck in that painful part is that you're fighting it and fighting it and fighting it and pretending like it's not there and ignoring it. And like, but if you just ride the wave, then you get past the wave and it's
Crazy.
over. Yeah.
I did not know that. Okay, so I was the kid that, this is not a joke. This literally happened. My dad was probably from me to you. He was in town. You know, I love my dad. I was a kid. I mean, I was probably 9, 10. We just moved into Florida. And he goes throw the football. I'm this hyper middle kid. I'm like, Dad. I'm like that dog. Oh, Dad's throwing the ball. I went to turn. I hit a tree and knocked myself out.
I've done that.
And I woke up and I had scrapes on the inside of my leg where I turned, and I woke up with a rag in between me, and I'm like, I'm laying in the living room, and I'm like, you know, and all of a sudden there's Mom, and I never got to catch the football.
You never got another chance.
Way to go, Charlie Brown.
I'm not throwing football.
Okay, no. There was many days of football and sports where that did not happen. But if anybody was going to do something, I was that. I didn't have that smoothness. See, Dave was this baseball smooth cat growing up and all-star, this, that. I was not that guy. My brother was. And so that drove me. What I've always found interesting about me was, like, most middle kids will not follow their older sons.
Right.
Like my boys. One's in the Air Force, one's still playing baseball, 27, having a great time. And the middle one was actually a really good baseball player. He was a better infielder. Dave has family that was good baseball. He was a bones kind of an infielder.
Was he really?
Yeah. But
because he quit playing before I knew you. Really.
Yeah. Then I got him into swimming.
And then he was wrestling too.
Wrestling did well.
Yep.
Not great, but well. Because he was a little scrawnier, but he was wired. I mean, Zach would pretzel like your boys.
He's wiredy.
Oh, well, you could hear him in the back room. I don't know if you hear bang bang and the walls are shaking and they're fight, but you know it's not a fight. And so I would look at Dom and like, let him go. They're all right. They're all right.
Yep.
And Zach was the oldest that would always hurt him, you know, pretzeling, but Jake would never quit.
Nope.
Like I'd come in and he couldn't move any finger, but he could move one finger. Ha! I'm touching you. I'm touching you. You know, and it would piss Bam off so bad because he couldn't pretzel him. And so when I got with my brother, he's baseball, football, basketball, he was elite, literally in Jacksonville. And he was a defensive back. Well, I became a defensive back. I was really built for a tight end. I would have been playing in a D1 school as a tight end. But I wanted to be a wide receiver like my brother. And I wouldn't quit basketball. He was way better than me. But I loved basketball, and I wouldn't stop playing. And for some reason, for me, I followed it. I never beat him. I never got to where I was better than him. It just drove me. Or maybe I was sick enough to stay in the wake. I don't know.
Or you guys just were similar because you were.
He was I think the biggest thing for me was he was the closest thing to me to feel in love. And yet his love, it wasn't. I mean, he would hold me so his friends would hit me. You know,
That's a brother, though. I mean, like, brothers are weird.
See, I need that because I'll make it just what you're talking about, a victimhood so damn fast.
Yeah. I mean, it's easy to do, right? I mean.
That's why I said you were going to help me.
Yeah.
You're like my psychologist and you don't even know it.
Oh, gosh, I want the job.
Do you find, because you are involved in, the business that you're involved in is?
It's Optavia.
Optavia.
Optavia. So, okay.
Optavia.
Just to help with the pronunciation thing. Because, like, when we kind of rebranded and named it Optavia, at first I was like, I'm not digging on it.
Yeah.
Sounds like Activia yogurt. Like, I don't know. But I get it. Okay, so it's optimal way or like best path. So the idea of what I do is I help people get themselves.
Via's life, right?
Via is life or way.
I
or
took
path,
Latin.
Right. And opta is like optimal or
optimal life.
So opta via, yeah.
I like it.
Yeah.
How long have you been involved with them?
Well, my son's 11 now. We moved here when he was 5 months old, and I left. So when I was in Georgia, like, okay, before.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay, so here, let's back up a little bit more.
You can go way back.
Then I'll go this far back. So my daughter she's 21. She'll be 22 in June. When my husband and I got married, we were like, we're going to have a lot of kids. And we had the one, and she was freaking awesome, like the most fun child. And so when we were ready to start trying for more, and we were like, why isn't it working? Why isn't it working? And so, like, I went to the doctor. They checked me out, like, different times of the month or, like, what,
right,
you know.
Right.
They were like, what's not
the
you?
optimum times, right?
Yeah. And then they checked him out. They're like, maybe it's you. It's not you. And so they were like, we're so sorry. It just happens sometimes we call it secondary infertility, and sorry. And so I kept thinking, well, maybe they're wrong, and so we couldn't have any more. It just
Right.
wasn't working. So I hit a place where I became like mega healthy. Like my younger brother, the number 3 child,
Mm-hmm.
introduced me to the idea of like eating paleo, which is essentially just like, it's like clean
Yep.
eating. And no bread, no
Right.
dairy.
No carbs,
Right.
anything. Right.
Well, no, I mean, you can eat vegetables and fruits,
Oh,
but
gotcha.
not breads and pastas and
Gotcha.
things. So anyway, so I got to this ridiculously healthy state. And so like
Right.
at 38, I was like, I was in better shape
Ripped.
at 38 than I was at 18. Like I
Right.
was like, yeah. And so God was like, guess what? So that's my son. Well, that's actually the one I lost because I did lose one in between.
Right.
So anyway, so we moved here. He was just a baby.
Right.
And I had to leave my job and my gym and all my friends and, start over. I was
Change.
fine with it. I grew up in the Army. I
Really?
can be new.
Okay.
Yeah.
I hate change.
I like it. Well, I
I'm
can't
getting
say
better.
I don't love it, but I know it won't hurt me.
It's you're talking about getting over the hump.
It's
you
it's
you
just
get over the hump
knowing-
quicker.
Yeah, I just know it won't kill me.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So anyway, okay. So I was like, where did I leave off?
It
so when we
happens.
moved here, my sister was doing something
Right.
and posting on Facebook about getting healthier, and I was like, yes, that's awesome. And so I was like, what are you doing? And she told me, and I was like, that's cool. But I already knew how to get healthier again.
Right.
I was nursing a baby. I was helping my little girl make friends. Like
Right.
that wasn't my priority at that point. And then my mom started doing the same thing my sister was doing. And I was like, what the heck? You guys, like my sister was like a nice surprise. My mom, it was actually like you could have knocked me over with a feather, like surprise. Like I was like, what? So I went ahead and like looked at what they were doing because I wanted to make sure it was good because I already
Right.
knew what was good. And I was like, oh, it is good. It's like really, really good. And so I kind of reached out to her coach and I was like, what's coaching?
Did you
look
ever
like?
have a heavy side? I mean, like an unhealthy.
After babies?
Yeah. I
you
mean,
know,
but
but-
you never really, like
Mm-mm.
me, I went up to 305 pounds.
Okay, but now I'm post-menopausal, or
Okay.
not post, but I'm menopausal.
Right.
And now I'm like, oh,
Yeah. My wife's
Ah.
going through that.
yeah,
Or I guess has been going through it for a while now.
yeah.
I look at Dave because he's like her work husband, so he hangs out with her as much. Dave did finishing and everything for us for years as well.
That's
so
cool.
so I think he sometimes I don't have no idea where we have an awkward relationship, not like awkward interaction, but awkward like I don't really keep track of her and she doesn't really keep track of me, and he'll know more about where she is or where she's going than I do. I'm like, Dave, where is Dawn Marie? So
That's good. You have a healthy relationship.
yeah, I mean, it really is. She's starting a new job, so she's been involved in this and the store over there. We're going to readjust a little bit, and so she's finding her space. And she was a stay-at-home mom forever.
That's awesome.
Yeah, but she's brilliant. I mean, she's a double major. She was always sharp. You know, she would have gone to University of Florida had she not met me. I talked her into staying in town. 'Cause I knew I'd lose her if she got to Florida. So, I
Good
wanted her.
job, Brett.
Thank you. I wanted her. I mean, one dude went away to college that was her boyfriend, and so they they didn't break up, but they gave each other some space, and whoop, there came Brett. I was down
Yeah.
at I met her at church down at First Baptist downtown back when it was booming. I knew church. I was still searching because at 17 I moved out on my own, Phillips Highway, and I lived in
Wow.
Suntree.
17.
Suntree. Well, I didn't have really a choice. Me and Dad decided that it was a good idea.
Gotcha.
But I was my birthday's in October. So I was in college. I had just turned 17 and I'm in college. I should have been held back. And I was already immature. And and so sports went out of the way. So I had no real authorities and there were no cell phones. And Mr. B and them put me on a bus ride is 17 hours back to Jacksonville from Lynchburg because I went up to Jerry Falwell's school.
Oh, I have my sister-in-law went to.
Yeah, my sister
Liberty.
graduated there. 10 years afterwards, she was sitting in the class one day in one of the 100 classes. It has like 300 people, and they're reading off the roll. And the guy gets to Blankenship, and he stops, and she looks up, and he goes, "Did you have a brother that went to school here?" Only went 1 year.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
But I mean, I was a handful. I really didn't go to school. I got 3 jobs, and I worked, and I used the school as my dorm to live. And my parents couldn't get a hold of me. They would call, I wouldn't answer. and I just lived. And so I came home and tried to live with mom and dad for a couple weeks.
Didn't
and,
work.
Well, hey, man, I'd already tasted freedom.
Yeah.
And that's hard to put it back in the box. And people try, and then you're fighting adults. And so I moved out. And 6 of us lived in a single wide in Suntree mobile home.
Wow.
Oh, our fun on Friday nights, then we'll get back to your normality. Our fun on Friday nights were driving by, because we were the last units before the one little road where all the hookers would hang out. Well, hello, real street hookers, the nasty stuff, they don't wear like undergarments. And so you'd see these cars parked there, and we would be going to the gas station or going out or whatever. We all had ARC-7s, so we thought we were cool, you know. And we would leave, and we'd stop right there. We go, "She's a cop!" And they'd take off. We thought we were funny, and we pulled around the back end and came into our house, all our ARC-7s. We get out, and there's this big white van sitting there.
Oh.
Yeah. There's all these 280-pound jacked up, hey, boys, come
Run.
here. And all these big old boys were stacked in this white van. They go, "If you ever bust one of our operations again, we're yanking you down. We know where you live." Yes, sir.
Yep.
So we never messed around again. So that's sort of my upbringing. 17 to 22 I was lost. I was I was digging footers. I didn't really know. College was so far away. I, in my mind, had made choices that were setting the tone for my life forever. I was done. And that's why I love that age group, because you're not broken.
That's a hard age group.
It's a hard, and especially if you don't. And my parents were reaching out, but I was rebelling hard because I didn't understand that God. I didn't like that God. He wanted me to give lovingly. I didn't want to give my money. I didn't want to.
Yeah.
So teach me how to just do. And in doing, what I found is it took me a lot of years, but when I finally got with some men that said, "Hey, man, I don't care if you like it. I don't care if you believe it. I don't care if you trust it. Are you willing to do it?" And that finally, the verse in the Bible came true to me. Faith without works is dead. I have struggled with that verse since, I don't know why, but I have this little weird brain in my head. I used to love church. I loved my pastor. I loved the way he taught. And my brain, I'd always process, and sometimes they would regurgitate sermons over the years.
Right.
We were in a small church. And one of them that he always taught was gradualism. At 54 now, when I look back, nothing came to me except through gradualism. I fell through gradualism. I fell into alcohol. You could have never told me I was going to be an alcoholic, man. Come on. I was a workaholic. I was running 45 stores. The world praised you in your 30s. I didn't even drink. I didn't drink. I mean, I had my 20s of a couple years, and then at Liberty and on on Phillips Highway. But it wasn't until my mid-30s that I really kicked back in. And so I never understood the alcoholic side of it, and that was through gradualism.
Yeah. Wow.
And look at your transformations in your life or in your children's lives, and anything. I love cycles.
Yeah.
And cycles help me. Tony Robinson said it the other day. He said you either need to spot cycles. Well, the first key is to be able to see the cycles, to be able to understand them, and then be able to control them.
That's deep.
It's deep.
Yeah.
But that's all I do is, I literally wake up in the morning, my brain just stupid ideas, stupid thoughts about why is this, where is that? I don't know where that inquisitiveness came from. Now we're going to snap back to you. That happens sometimes. I run off. This journey has been a healing journey for me, and I go back and rewatch these, and you'll be amazed what you think is jumbled.
Right.
It may be jumbled to some people. I don't care. Yeah. I'm not here for them. It's a journey for me to the best of my ability to understand why I'm such a knucklehead in certain areas and so good in other areas, like a lot of people. And what I found is I'm not unique. We all have our struggles in life, but we don't share it, so we think we're individually, terminally unique.
We all get stuck in our own head. Yeah. And
the walls get tight when you don't share. And I don't bond well with people. I go to the chamber and I just Dave knows me. I'm a ghost. I'm there and I get my presence and I'm fun but sometimes it's a mask.
Yeah.
And there's always I help a lot of young people, and some of the times I'll tell you, I said, listen, they'll be dirty and dingy and stanky, and that's the ones I like. Say, listen, you go look at the clean cats. That's the sick ones. Because we hide it, so well. Today, I don't have to hide. And that's what this is all about. It's just about being broad and open. And the messages I have gotten from this little podcast with 79 subscribers, but it gets to a lot more people.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And it'll grow. So your mentors in life, was it family oriented? Were you having four siblings counting you? Somewhat tight, or was it everybody did their own thing?
Okay. Well, it was the 80s. Like, I was a child of the 80s. So, like people always say, kids of the 80s are feral.
We were free.
But in a way, yes.
Oh, yeah, we were free.
And a lot of my growing up was on military bases because my father was in the Army. So that was almost like Mayberry anyway, right? You're probably pretty safe.
Yeah. And you got 8 mamas watching you.
Exactly. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Were you a people pleaser?
Always.
Okay.
Yeah, so much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Overboard sometimes?
Yes, in that it was like to the point of denying myself the things I needed or wanted because I wanted to make sure. Yeah. Because it was more like my priority was making sure that people were happy, not that I was happy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When did that start shifting? And was it purely internal, or was there outside influences, people? I don't see many major I guess why I keep battling that. I don't see many major shifts without outside intervention, whether it be a higher God, a higher being, which I call God, but you can call him whatever you want.
I don't know. I think in a way I'm maybe still that way, but I
agree.
feel like in adulthood I have only, I don't know. I'm figuring out who I am.
I am too.
Yeah.
I don't think you I don't know. Today is 3 of the most powerful words I have. They don't make me look stupid. They may to other people, but inside and internally, I know what I mean when I say I don't know. I truly am not going to give you a BS answer. I'm going to do my research the best of my ability. I can give you my life experiences and my opinion, but I'm nobody. I'm not God. I love saying that. I'm not God. I don't have that ability.
Right.
My crystal ball never worked.
Right.
I'm 54. I would have never thought I was in the spot I was in. At 44, I hit it more than anybody. At 44, I lost everything due to no fault of my own. Dave was around.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting here. Matter of fact, Dave had, you want to talk about the grind, Dave had a 104 temperature. He had an affected leg. I had to move the store in one day. I had beat Books A Million and all their fancy attorneys. We were going out of business in 3 weeks, and they didn't know it. And so we were negotiating on Loretta Road on a Saturday morning, Art of War, read the book. I met him. I purposely set him up to have him meet him up there, and ended up turning out very well for us. They had to pay me a lot of money to get out of my contract, and we were able to stay alive and fight one more day.
Yeah.
And so Dave, I had to move the store in a day and a half, and it was a 10,000 square foot store with a ton of furniture. And Dave had an infection and had a fever, and he had to go to the hospital. I had nobody else. I said, Dave, you have to stay. I don't even think I said that. I would never.
I said, Brett, I need to go to the hospital. You said you can't.
Okay, I guess I did.
Yeah.
And I wrapped him in a dirty moving
blanket out of the U-Haul.
Oh my gosh.
In a rocker. And I said, because I had to go from this store to that store while moving companies were going. I mean, it was just chaos, but it was controlled.
And I sat there in a moving blanket for 6 hours and then went straight to the hospital.
Dave held on with sweat. I would walk in and see just pure white. I'm going, please let him be alive when I get over there. But you know what? There are times in some people's lives, man, there just was no other option. I mean, now if you had to get rushed to the hospital, I guess I'd have figured it out.
Yeah.
You know, and that meant a lot to me. I mean, there weren't many people in my life that I could call and sit like that.
Yeah.
And so that's special. Do you have those 3 to 4 people in your life?
I think I'm developing
outside of your
them.
yeah. See.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so why am I a late developer? Why did you develop late? Or is it because you move so much, hard to have relationships?
Well, moving, definitely. Like when you're geographically in a different place, you don't. So like growing up in my life, I never had.
Especially the 80s, you can't keep up with them.
Yeah. Because there was no internet.
Right.
You kept in touch with people because of mail.
Right.
Because phone calls, long distance phone calls.
Cost.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But yeah, so I think I hit a point when we lived in Georgia. I had some friends that I thought were my forever friends.
Yeah.
And I don't know, like you have times. So One of them decided something about me that wasn't true. And when I said, but that's not true, they were like, yeah, no, it is. And I was like, they
And to the point they're willing to ruin a relationship.
well,
over.
they thought they thought that I
Yeah.
was like judging them.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, we think that you are judging us and our daughter and our, we think that you think this. And I was like, oh, I don't. And they're like, yeah, you're lying. I was like, okay. Like, how do you fight with that?
You can't.
You know?
You just
So-
let it go.
Yeah.
I had a crew, the Phillips Highway crew that I grew up with, just 6 of us that were tight as could be. And I watched them all fade fast. And I have a friend from high school I could call him. We could not talk for 5-8 years, pick up the phone and be like,
Yeah.
it was yesterday. You
Yeah.
know? And then it's been nice as my sons have gotten older because they're now 27 and 24. I don't have to parent anymore. I'm a mentor.
Well, yeah,
I'm a
you're
cheerleader
still
to
a
me.
parent. It's
Yeah.
just you have to redefine
Yeah.
what that means.
I don't give my opinion unless asked. Which is very hard. Yeah, I mean, like my son, my oldest, when he was going through college, he graduated Fleming Island with the ACE program, but then tore his arm and wanted to play baseball, so went to JUCO. So he retook classes he'd already taken. By the time he graduated college, I think he had like 160 hours. It was just ridiculous because he was just taking classes, and his path was not what I would have chosen. But now to look where he is, would he be where he is had he not gone through a lot of the trials?
That is so cool because sometimes like you think you're on a path and you think, okay, that's what I'm aiming for. And so I'm on this path. And then something takes you off and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm not going where I want to go. But it's so weird how sometimes things that you think are taking you in a way you don't want to go end up being the very thing that defines where you end up.
I
and
love
it's where you wanted to be.
And
that
we
you
were
didn't even
lied
know.
to. And we were lied to. We were
How?
told to tie a knot and hang on. And I have found that in my life. And if you disagree, man, start commenting, hit share, hit like, follow us, subscribe. She'll be on often watch because, well, you have an insight. There's a couple others that I want to talk to as well. the Kingsley chiropractor and everything.
Yes, we
Yeah.
need to get him.
Yeah.
I need him.
He's a dynamic dude. And you know
Yeah.
him, don't you? Is a little bit.
Not
No.
really.
Oh, well, you're talking about chiropractor with all
Yeah.
your, he's not the
I need to get
chiropractor, but
cracked.
But he connected my husband to their chiropractor, and my husband he's like, he's great.
yeah.
Yeah.
I would go to him. I have a injury claim going, so I can't go to chiropractors right now. But he just I like people that have the personality that I want because there's things in you I want to assimilate into me, and so the people that come on here,
I get that.
Yeah, because I had great parents. I mean, they were good peoples. And I'm a lot like my you'll hear that, right? Dave, you can push that away. We don't have to hear it.
Sorry.
God.
I didn't realize it was that close.
Anyways, it just didn't fit in my head. What I saw, it just wasn't me. And so when I got with some other people, I started seeing a broader world. And I said, I like a little bit of that. I learned how to parent at I literally, sounds corny. I might have been, Dave and I've talked about this a few times. I keep saying 12. It may have been 13, but I remember starting to pay attention at a young age. Go, I will not do that when I have children. I will do that when I have children.
That is so. Oh my gosh! I did the same thing.
Okay, that's why I needed one other person. I've never heard anybody say I've done that. So
when I was a kid, I was a kid, and I was like, not
people
gonna
look
do
at me
that.
like I'm full of crap.
One time, I was probably 8.
Yep.
And I was in my room. I have this memory. I was in my room and I was on my bed. I can see it, like the layout of the room and everything. And I was crying because my mom had yelled at me.
Yeah.
And she had said, you're pushing me, you're testing me. And I was like, what does that even mean? Like, and so I was in my room crying about it. And I was thinking to myself, why would she say that? What does that even mean? And then I thought about it and I was like, she said it because she really thinks it. She really believes that I'm testing her.
Yep.
But I know I'm not. I never even thought of doing that. Like kids don't think that way. And so I thought, ooh, I need to remember this moment because maybe one day when I'm a parent and I'm thinking my child's testing me, I need to remember this moment so I'll be able to see it from my child's perspective.
Child's not seen but heard. That saying.
I got that, but I
understood it, but I didn't. My children didn't sit at a table. They sat at the table to learn how to be like adults with the other kids.
No, I got told by my parents.
Yeah.
Like my parents told me when I was a kid,
Yeah.
kids had to be seen and not heard.
Yeah.
And that was like we were supposed to be grateful that we got to be heard.
80s was an interesting time.
Yeah.
It was a fun time.
It was fun.
I also, well, yes. But also, okay, but like in my childhood, that's like when the Adam Walsh thing happened, and that's when the Ryan White thing happened, and all. I mean, like I feel like those were just like defining, you know.
Well, I mean, even the Challenger and all this stuff
Yeah,
that
I
went
remember
on.
We watched the Challenger.
All
It
of
was
us,
the
we
first time I
all
ever
came
heard
out of
an-
school and watched it blow up live.
Oh, I wasn't in Florida. I was in New Jersey, but it was the first time I ever heard a nun say, "Oh my God."
Yeah.
'Cause I grew
And there
up
was no counseling.
I was like,
We went right back to
no,
class.
the very next day, people were making jokes about Head and Shoulders on the beach and stuff, and I was like, "That's too soon."
Oh, I got suspended for what's
I was
NASA
making
stand
jokes.
for.
Huh?
What's NASA stand
Oh,
for?
Dave, we're not doing this though. No, but I get it. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
All that stuff.
All right, so we're in New Jersey.
Cherry Hill.
Okay, exit
So-
4.
yeah,
Yeah, we only lived there a year. That was my sixth grade year.
Middlesex.
Middlesex. So we're exit 9 off the Parkway. You're exit or the Turnpike. You're exit 4.
Okay.
They have a big water tower that says Cherry Hill right on the water,
And
right
the
on the
big
road.
mall. Yeah.
So you were there for your military base.
Yeah, there's a Fort Dix
Yep.
yeah.
We built our corporation. I did not own it, but when we were picking our locations, retail, every town we were in was military because they moved all the time and they loved real wood furniture.
Oh, that's cool.
Because when you move, stuff fell apart all the time every 2 to 3 years. So that's why I started in Jacksonville, and they would go around and they'd be in New Jersey and they'd be talking to your husband, man. If you're gonna get stationed in Jacksonville, go check out this store, you know, and it blew up. So, and then it blew down. Back to the kid thing though, because that's where she's on it. I had a whole world I lived in because I didn't grow up in abuse or any, you know, like it was the spoil the rod, spare the child mentality, and it was the best of their
Wait.
abilities. The Bible,
Spare the rod.
spare the rod, spoil the child.
Like, so you got hit.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Oh,
Yeah,
there
it
was.
the 80s. Yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, if there was a bloody welts on my leg, it was the belt. I mean, you know. And in the 80s, you had the short shorts, and yeah. I mean, that dude.
Also, that belt, it didn't just hit your butt. Sometimes it hit your thigh, and sometimes it hit that area.
Sometimes
right
it hit my
behind your knee.
groin, my
Oh.
boys, and it's why moms don't understand that, and that you would literally have, you'd be racked, and that's why I love podcasts. I get to say all that. You literally be racked, and they don't know that. There's touch the bed, don't move, don't that kind
Did you
of.
ever get told to like bend over and grab your ankles?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
I mean it was my dad.
That's so weird.
I literally went out to the milk truck, which is what it was, and which I ended up driving to high school. That was fun. With the big old name on the side of canary yellow. That was awesome. But I remember at one time I had to go out there, and he said, "Yeah, go give me that." It was a board like that, and go give me that board. That became the one I got beat with that night. Don't get me wrong. This wasn't no little innocent little kid, but I wasn't trouble like wanting to sell drugs and have sex, and none of that even was in my head. I was just this hyper. You would have called me ADHD, and I'm not a big proponent of tags. I do believe there are people that have issues. We have a dear friends here that are vendors that have a fully autistic young man and deals with things I don't even have to deal with. I can't even imagine, but we're really quick to label. And
Yes.
I had a teacher. I was in 6th grade. No, I was in 5th grade. Grace Christian Academy. They're no longer around, or else I wouldn't have said their name because it was a great school and they were good teachers. But Miss Shoemaker, you were not. You are a bitch. She grabbed my cheek and she put her claws in my face and clawed me because I was so hyper. And what it was is we were having prayer. I remember the moment we were having prayer, and the kid behind me was talkative, and he kept talking to me. So I turned around and I was talking to him, and that led her to, I guess she had a bad day, and I was always part of her tension. But to put your nails in so deep, by the time I got home, they were still there.
Still there.
And my parents looked at me and said, "What did you do?"
Yep.
What did you do?
Yep. Well, that was the age when
That
like our
was-
parents sided with the teacher, not
Yeah.
with the kid. Yeah.
And it's dangerous. It was dangerous. I had to learn some things because there was times that I was right and no one believed me. And that was weird, because I'm sitting here as a kid going, no, I'm telling you the truth. And,
Yeah.
it starts a process of, well, then why tell you? And so then I began to live in my little fantasy world, and that was a bad move. I didn't know it at the time, but I went into this whole nother, so I could live in school. I mean, I'd be around people.
Okay. Which nowadays people would call a trauma response. Like when you're like, I can't, if it's not working, then I'll just
Okay, see,
disassociate.
that's it.
Yeah.
I literally, I would see me outside of me. And
I did. Oh my
I was a
gosh.
bedwetter, nail biter. It was always, and I've realized now, and this is not all my parents. Listen, I did it. I can tell you some stories about my kids where I put terror in them. I was not always a great dad. Zach wasn't even 2, and he was frustrating me so much. He kept crying and crying and crying, and I was and I remember he had overalls on, and I grabbed him by his overalls,
Pick 'em up.
tossed him on the bed. It was about from me to you. Yeah, it sounds funny, but in reality, I didn't throw him like that because I was like happy about it.
Yeah.
I'm not proud of this, but I never forgot that moment because it came early.
Did it scare you?
Scared the crap out of me.
Because I had one time when my daughter, and I think I was hormonal and I
Right.
was not sleeping.
Right.
And like I was, I just had her. She was little. And my husband was still home.
Yeah.
Because like he got
Got the
week off
leave,
or whatever.
right.
Yeah. And
Yeah, like
I
a week's gonna do
Oh
it.
my gosh, yeah, exactly. Anyway, I was just in this place, and she was crying, and I went into her room, and she was crying, and I picked her up, and she didn't stop crying, and so I changed her diaper, even though it wasn't dirty or wet. And
Trying
she
anything.
kept crying. I tried nursing her, that didn't. She kept crying, and I was sitting there rocking her, and I
Yep.
could feel my frustration, and
Yep.
probably my frustration was like making her cry.
Yep.
But I thought to myself, oh, now I understand. Because, you'd hear about people with shaken baby
How
syndrome.
could they
and
do
how-
it?
And I was like, now I understand.
Yep.
And that thought scared me
Scared
so
the
much.
crap out of me.
I was like, and so I put her on the floor.
Yeah.
And I walked away because I was like, you need to not touch your baby right
Yep.
now. Because if you can't lose your,
See, people won't talk about this. Thank you for being honest, because I guarantee you every mother's done it. When my first was born, Dawn Marie is just a laid back, chill, nothing rattles her. And when she had our firstborn, and my mother-in-law, who is dear to me, which is weird. I have a really good mother-in-law. She's like one of my best friends.
oh,
And I know, isn't that weird?
that's awesome.
Oh yeah, she knows things about me that she's never told her daughter, because I didn't have that relationship with my parents, and I needed at that time. She knew, I didn't know, that I needed somebody to vent with. I needed an adult, and she became that adult. Not like every minute of every day keeping secrets from her, but there are some that I talked to her about mistakes that I made, not about women or anything, but obviously she'd have told her daughter.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, her first priority
Yes,
would be,
but I'm gonna tell you something. It was intimate conversations that if she shared, I would have been embarrassed. And she held those truths, and they didn't really benefit her daughter.
Don't ever tell me a secret that I shouldn't tell anybody
Me
else.
neither.
Not because I won't,
Yeah.
but just because I'm going to forget that I shouldn't tell somebody.
Yeah,
So don't tell me.
yeah.
anything.
Don't. I'm not a secret keeper.
No, I just don't want to be told, don't tell anybody. I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm
Okay.
going to
Good.
forget not to tell people.
So trauma. It does. Was there more of it then? I don't think so. I think the further I get away from it, the harder it is to see the truth.
Wait, was there more trauma in the 80s?
Yeah.
Than there? Okay.
Well, unnoticed trauma. Like.
yeah. Okay. This is what I think there was.
And the word trauma, I hate to put the
I
word
know, I do
trauma
too,
on
because
it.
I think
Like
people,
panic attacks.
Well,
and-
people
Yeah.
label it now, and it's
Right.
like they revel in it, and they
Right.
it's like
they
it's
want to
like,
they want to make it a tool that they can use
well,
as to
it's
why
like,
they
you know,
don't.
like a dog poop on the floor. There's your trauma. Well, what were you gonna do? Are you gonna clean it up and get rid of
There
it? Or
it
you're gonna
is.
roll around in it,
Right.
And like, oh, I've got look
Right.
for trauma. you know,
Right.
like,
That's what it's
yeah.
smearing it all
yeah,
over
it's
them.
up in your hair.
Yes. So, and that is the difference.
Let's explore the trauma.
Yes, we didn't do
You know, like,
that.
no, we just
There-
So, it made getting past it hard,
Yeah.
but at least you got past it.
Yeah.
You know.
I had, and there were some that walked with me for decades that I had to work through. Some I nurtured and coddled them like babies. I mean, I have resentments. For me, resentments are death. I cannot live in resentments.
I think, okay. I just recently posted on Facebook this idea that the ultimate healing is taking the hurt that happened to you and using it as a way to help somebody else. And to me, like that, the first time I ever heard that expression or that concept, you know how people sometimes say, oh, everything happens for a reason.
Yeah.
You know, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, not everything happens for a reason.
Yep.
Sometimes what doesn't kill you didn't kill you.
Yeah.
But you're not stronger.
No.
It hurt you.
You get a head-on
And
collision.
you just have to be hurt.
Yeah.
You know, and so I kind of went through all of that, thinking that and believing that and saying, you know what, like there were some traumas from my childhood that I'm like, I'm not better for it.
Yeah.
I wish it hadn't happened.
Yeah.
But I'm going to be okay.
Yeah.
But not, you know, it didn't make me stronger. So I had kind of gone through this thought of thinking that's a lie. It's like a nice thing that people can say to make you feel better.
Yep.
But it's not true until I heard that idea. And it was Dave Blanchard who
Right.
and he was like president of
Oh,
the
yeah.
Mandino group. Yeah. Okay. So he gave this talk and he said, you know, if you've got this hurt that has just been on you and there's nothing about it that has made your life better. He's like, take it out of your heart and put it in your hand and look at it and get to know it and see it as not you. You're not the pain and the pain's not you. It's a thing. It's true, but it's not you. And get to know it and then put it back in your heart and use that as a way to connect with somebody else in a way
There
you
it
never
is.
could have otherwise had you not gone through it. And I was like, oh my gosh, you gave meaning to the trauma
Yeah. How long ago was that?
that I heard that.
Yeah.
It was when I was coaching. It was like when I was a newer coach. So probably within the past decade.
Okay.
But I was like, oh,
Well, we change every decade anyways. I mean, do you see the difference in you and your 20-year-old you?
yes, because I know when I hit about 35, I thought, okay, well, I guess I'm done growing.
I didn't think I'd live past 35.
Well, I just figured I had hit the peak of changing.
Yeah.
And now I just had to like coast.
Sort of weird. We wake up and go, wait a minute.
I'm still growing up.
And isn't that
What?
weird?
Yeah, I'm wiser today than I was 10 years ago.
Because the
What?
baby boomers didn't say that. They didn't say they were still growing up. When you hit 50, it was understood you were mature. You had arrived.
Yeah, when you're 50,
I didn't
50,
see any. Yeah.
By the time someone was 50, they
You're
were old.
old.
I'm like, old.
We are a different 50.
Oh yeah,
We
I know.
are.
I turned 50 this year.
I'm 54. We have
so
the
old.
yeah, I know, right? That's sir, ma'am. Yes, sir. No, we found a little different way to grow up, like this. A baby boomer was never sitting here on now they will, but back then you would never think about sitting down, very few, and exposing all of your weaknesses. Our generation, it's a little bit well. It's becoming a little bit more prevalent. I've gotten much more comfortable. I didn't expose anything. I rattled a
Nope.
bunch, but I wouldn't tell you the real me.
Because that's like showing your like vulnerable stuff, and you don't do that.
But there's in one of these programs I'm involved in, there's a step 12, and it's really what you're talking about. It's to reach out to the still sick and suffering. And what it really does for me is it gets me out of me. It gets me out of my problems and my wham. We have poor me. We always say pour me another drink. You know, because long before I am a drunk, I'm going to be a victim. So if I never get into victimhood, I don't have to look for anything to ease me.
Because you're going like this.
Yeah.
It's not really there. I don't see it.
But here's the sick thing about, some people like me is it's a gradual thing, is I can become a victim and think I'm actually leading and helping. And I'm not even good at dealing with justifiable anger. Meaning when I am absolutely right, I may not be the right person to talk to you about it, in legal terms, in business terms. Sometimes I'll use my wife because she's much more even-keeled. And now I'm using ChatGPT a little bit more. I'm running emails through them, and I'm saying filter this to have less because I don't know my tones.
Right.
My tones I don't always hear, and they're very direct and they're very dogmatic, and it sounds like I'm like a roar. And in reality, I just have a passion. I've done it so many years. I know what works, and I want you to taste success so bad, but yet I'm not willing to let you fall. And
Ooh, okay.
yeah,
That's when
go
you,
with it.
okay. So we talk about like the trauma,
Yes.
right? So the drama triangle is when
Drama triangle?
drama.
Okay, give it
So
to
it's
me.
like if you're in that drama triangle, then somebody's a victim,
Okay.
probably
Victim.
you,
Yes.
and someone is the villain.
Victim,
So
villain.
if you're the victim, it's because some bad person
Yep.
did this thing or this horrible thing happened to you, and like you're a victim of a horrible thing.
Yeah.
Or this other place is to be the hero, right? So if you're in the hero mode, well, I won't let you fall, or I'm going to prevent
like
that bad
it.
thing. Like then you're still in that drama triangle.
So I am the victim and the hero.
We all are.
Oh,
I mean,
damn.
like,
I'm also the villain
but
at
we
times.
all are. I mean, that is, but
That's-
the way to turn that triangle around is to say, instead of being the victim, you're the victor. So like the thing happened, but I'm going to be okay. I'm going to do this thing or that.
But I
and-
don't believe me.
But
Now what do I
you know,
do?
Because it takes practice.
There,
No
okay.
one believes it the first time.
Focused repetition.
Yep.
It's
Yeah.
got to be over.
You don't have to believe. Yeah.
I brush my teeth with my left hand. That's all you got to do.
To make your brain do things that it didn't do before.
Well, I didn't know I was doing that. God does for me what I can't do for myself. I had my firstborn was a lefty, and I'm one. He loved baseball. I love baseball, and I figured if I was going to understand a lefty, I had to be able to do what lefties do. And so I started eating, and it was like I started brushing my teeth, and I'm hitting my jaw, and I
It's hard.
scrape my gum. If you want a challenge, spend 5 days brushing your teeth two times a day. People, come on, nasty. Brushing your teeth with your left hand, or if you're left-handed, don't do that. Don't cheat. Brush with your right hand. And all these lefties are going, "This is easy." Right. And I have now Dawn Marie. I'll try to get her to do it. She's still jabbing, and dude, I can get to town. I mean, now I do brush my teeth differently with my left hand, but it's just as fast. Even the little, the little finger stuff that you always can do with your dominant hands. I don't know.
That's a good exercise for your brain.
Left and right.
Yeah.
Okay, let me ask you something, because something tells me you're gonna get this, and I'm not setting this up. If you don't, it's not a big deal.
Now I'm gonna be like, I don't know.
No, because I may be crazy, and it may not be real. It may be the placebo effect. Can you feel the different parts of your brain firing at times, like when you're in
I
those
don't think
intense?
so.
Okay.
Like location?
Yeah.
No, I don't think.
You don't feel the kinetic.
No.
No.
Come on, people. Okay. If any of y'all do, let me know. I haven't
Okay,
come across
also,
anybody.
your brains don't feel like. I mean, maybe it's intuition.
Okay, what about the kinetic energy? Okay, stay away, because you're going to help me. I'm ignorant to this.
No, but
So,
maybe
like-
you're intuiting.
so, like-
intuiting.
So like when you're doing the 21 days to change a habit, right? And it's actually scientific, right? Exactly. It's
Yeah,
not
okay,
exact,
okay.
but it's the
It's
generic.
longer, but
It does, but it's the generic. And what they say is, and I'll find some links and I'll post some legitimate studies. I used to tell Dawn Marie long before I looked into it, I was like, it's like a zzz, zzz. And I didn't know anything about like the electricity that runs from, but there's different parts of your brain for like creativity, for anger, trauma, right? The left brain, right brain.
Yeah.
Left brain's creative. Okay, I'll figure it out.
Right-handed people are left-brained.
Left
so
brain.
It's
Right.
the right brain that's usually the people who are artistic and.
Do you find yourself staring at just one particular eye when you talk to somebody, or do you go back and forth?
I don't know.
They
I
have
to
no
think
idea why
about
I'm
that.
asking this.
Yeah, I don't know. I have to think about that. 'cause
I stare at the
think
left one.
I don't think I look at eyes. I think I look at the whole.
See, I go right here. I don't know why, because I like human dynamics, and 93% of all communication is nonverbal, and so where I grew up on Phillips Highway, if you're in a gas station, you better know when that boy's coming, and it has helped me in life. We were in Atlanta, my wife and I, at the Underground where you could shop, and this was decades ago.
That place is so cool.
Don't go now.
No.
I mean, so I went in and we had bought some stuff, and it was already starting to shift, and it's a rough area.
Yeah.
And they have better.
They're working on it. They're
yeah,
working on it.
yeah, they may have too. This has been decades ago. So I went in and we bought some stuff, and I went into this restroom. There was a little courtyard right there. Was cops sitting right there, and I went in. Dawn Marie waited for me, and I go to the restroom and I set my bag down. And guys in restrooms, there's a certain decorum. You don't be glancing around. They don't put borders between all of us. We just stand there in troughs. And so I'm sitting there, and there's this guy, and all of a sudden he comes in on this side, and this other guy comes in on the other side of me, and I'm sitting there, and they're looking around. It just was an odd vibe.
Yeah.
And I was acting like I wasn't doing something. All of a sudden, I just snatched my head quick to the mirror, and I saw this guy talking to that guy, and I knew what was
You
happening.
were about to get jacked.
I was about to get robbed.
Yep.
And so I'm backing up. I am not zipped
You're
up.
not small. Like,
no,
I wouldn't
but-
be like, that's my next victim.
Well, back then I was 270. I just the last 3 years walk around this weight. I walked around for 20 years at 280 to
But
300
how tall
pounds.
are you?
About 6'3".
So you're not a little guy. It's
They
not like
always find the big guy.
Yep.
I'll let him explain it. I don't understand it.
Always.
I'll get to that later. But so I was standing there and I literally am backing up. Now I have not zipped up or anything. I'm
just pee on them.
Yes.
Good.
No,
You
I
did?
wasn't done, but my body told me we're about to get robbed. And I catch eyes with this guy, and I'm backing up with my shoulder. I'd left my bag on that, didn't even register, and I'm getting all zipped up. I didn't wash my hands, didn't have time. I go out, and it's the cops are there, and I said, hey, listen, 2 guys in there. I said they were about to rob me. This girl didn't even budge, man. I'll never forget. Domri was right there. She said, what do you want me to do? She was on her lunch break. That was Atlanta back then.
Yep.
Aw.
What it is today and everything, I don't know. So, but understanding that the flex and the feel and the vibe or whatever that is, I think it has been a valuable asset to me. And it was developed starting to see, I don't want to do that. I would watch how my parents did me and how it would make me feel. And I go, when I get kids, I don't want to do that. Now, I then realized some of the stuff I didn't want to do were actually right, and I did them because they were good parents.
Yeah.
So there was that whole growing up for me.
Figuring it out and being like, you know what? When I was younger and stupider,
Yeah.
I was actually wrong.
Yeah, dead wrong.
What?
And if we can get to the point where I challenge everything that I say, I'm in a healthy spot. If I'm not willing to challenge, if I'm not willing to have any of my thoughts challenged, my parenting thoughts, my business, if I only I know the right way, man, I'm in a dangerous spot.
That is, to not be aware of your own,
Limitations.
fallibility. Yeah, exactly.
Just limitations.
You have to be able to say, you know what, I might be wrong about this, but I think blah, 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 blah.
But we don't. Listen, because I say we don't. I hate sweeping comments. What I remembered as a child was I hated that at 17, people didn't talk to me like an adult. I was paying all my bills. I was on time. I was always at my job.
But you were still a kid.
But I was a kid. And so David has seen this. You can have a 17-year-old work for me, and I'll look at him and listen, you're a grown man. I'm going to treat you like a grown man. You can't have it both ways. I'm not your
Right.
daddy, but I'm also going to show you what they wouldn't show me. I'm going to show you how to run a business, and I have had a lot of people leave me that are now successful and more successful than me, to be honest with you. And shoot, I could borrow money from them now.
That's awesome.
Yeah, because money has never been a motivator for me, and that has been a detriment for this world's view.
I'm the same.
it's
Okay, so the same in a way. Like I think, in what I do, if I hustled harder, if I was more about like the business or like
upselling on every little aspect.
and maybe I'm not doing it enough. Like I think of it as kind of a good quality about me that I'm not, like chasing the success.
dollar,
I'm
right.
more about like, how can I help people? But I bet you if I worked harder, I could help more people too. Like it's
Well, no, it's not harder if you worked with a different mentality and you put the finances first. But then I think you lose the energy you give off from when I first met you. It was not just a beautiful woman, but yeah, I mean, your husband outpunted his coverage, but so did I. And there's something about people that give off the positive energy you have. You've had to work through that. I have not found many positive people that have not had trauma in their life, and I'm not here to get into your trauma.
I agree.
But I think you can't really experience the tweet of a freaking bird with peace unless you understand that kid was listening to that tweet, knowing hell was coming, and it's not here anymore.
Like even me, like have kind of screwed up in a way that
Been there.
we've given our kids such a good life
Yeah,
that now they're like, unhappy because of something that you're like, that doesn't even matter. It's like you weren't traumatized enough as a child
yeah,
to appreciate how good you have it now.
Yeah.
Not that I want to traumatize my children. I
No.
don't. But I do agree. Like you can't be fully grateful for what you have if you didn't have the pain of not having, you know, love or safety or things.
And
or
financial
like, yeah,
insecurity.
yeah.
My oldest went to college on a full scholarship in baseball, which is rare. So now his was academic and baseball, but he got all this, and then Bright Futures as well through the ACE program. So he had wherever he went to school, even in Georgia. By the way, if you don't know this, Bright Futures does transfer to Georgia at 75%.
I didn't know that.
At 75%. So if you want to go to like Valdosta State,
Wow,
we used Bright Futures. They share.
that's cool.
Yeah, so you can use Georgia too. See, saved you guys. So so it did open up the game. So he went there and everything. Where was I going with that? Oh, it must not have been meant to be.
It was something about that you can't appreciate what you have right now.
Oh,
if you-
thank you very much.
You're welcome.
So he was down in JUCO, and we were sitting at a baseball game, and
What's JUCO?
junior college,
Oh,
where a lot of baseball players go. They don't care about going to school; they just
Okay.
want to play ball. And there's actually better baseball in JUCO. You'll see more 99-mile-an-hour fastballs in JUCO than you will in D1 schools.
okay.
They just can't hit the strike zone. Or they don't care about academics, so they go to JUCO for 1 year. So my son was thrown in with all these stud athletes, and he does care about academics. So it was a interesting journey. But I was sitting at one of the games with one of the parents, and we were all I hate sitting around parents. Y'all are the biggest whiners. You think you know sports. I was not that coach. I watched my son's coach screw him 3 or 4 times. I had University of Central Florida come to watch him pitch 3 innings, and they were going to sign him. And it was his designated time to pitch. Ross didn't put him out because I didn't tell Ross UCF was coming. And then he went around the back end and couldn't find out this or that. It downplayed it and they never heard from him again. You know, and coaches have a lot of power.
Ouch.
Nah, but that makes him strong.
Yeah.
I had my Coach Lopez at Miami, North Carolina, Woodward. All these guys were interested in my son because of his and Georgia Tech, his academics and his baseball prowess. Now he was not a blue chipper, 97-mile-an-hour guy. He's 6'3". He didn't get my height. He's like 6 foot. We call it baseball 6 foot. So it's like 5'11" and a half.
We round up.
Yeah, we measure him on the cleats. But he is absolutely a good pitcher. But when he went down there, I was sitting with him in JUCO with the parents, and they were asking me, so how much? They were freshmen. Zach was a sophomore. So somehow they were talking about something. I'm watching the game, and they lean over, Brett, what do you give Zach for a week? Or no, they didn't say, what do you give Zach for monies? I said, $250. Okay. We give little Johnny, that wasn't his name. We give little Johnny $400 a week. I went, a week?
Yeah.
They have housing paid for. They have a food. I said, you give him $400 a week, $1,600 a month. And they go, yeah. So yours is like $255. You give him $1,000. I said, no, I give him $250 for the month. He's got to do the gas. He's got to do his.
So you made him be creative and
I wanted him hungry.
Yeah.
I wanted him to know what it was like when I was on Phillips Highway and I put mustard in between 2 breads. So for the it was great for the last 3 days.
And now that kid watches every penny he spends.
Every penny he spends.
He's thoughtful and doesn't just do things because
He
he's frivolous.
to the point that he will wear shoes out with holes in them and keep wearing them. I'm like, Zach,
Except
and he
for his
makes
tattoos.
good money. Yeah, but he got his tattoos on a deal. Every one of my kids are deals. My boy in South Korea, man, he's a penny pincher. You know, the car we just sold, that man has money in the bank now. My dad was very fiscally responsible, but it was the old school money over, here, if I was going on a date on a Friday, I had to start asking for money by Tuesday, for like $10, fight for $10 in a big old 77 Lincoln. 5 of it went to, luckily Arby's had little 99-cent Arby's things. That was my dates. Now I could have gone and got a job, but that was one thing Mr. B, he did not want us to have was a job. He wanted us to experience our childhood.
So how old were you when you got your first job?
Well, technically, that's funny because I was actually
You moved out when you were 17.
No, I was working for him by the time I was 8. I was picking up bookcases. I couldn't even tip on a hand truck. I would have to tip them like 5 times at 11. I say 8. I was probably 11 or 12 when I first started learning how to work the hand truck. He was in the furniture business, and so I loaded up furniture. But all through high school, I would go and run one of the stores on Wednesday nights and while they would go to church. And I loved that I didn't have to go to church. So I could be late. And I enjoyed that. I was a rebel without a cause.
So you were working.
Yeah.
You were
no,
just not working for some guy and having
yeah.
to count towards your
No.
taxes.
And then my mother was militant about, I can pull roots, weeds to where the whole root comes out. I'm a master. I double fist as I'm going. I can fly.
Last night my husband was sitting out in front of the house with our neighbor, and
Right.
and I looked down and I saw weed. We were in the driveway, right? So like place between the garage and the driveway, there's that, and I saw this weed, and I reached down and I pulled it out, and I got the
whole
root,
thing.
and
Yes.
it looked like a spine.
Yes.
behind there, and I was like,
I mean, I can get the base of it and shake that
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah, oh yeah.
And then I'll leave the dirt. I mean, my mom was good. My mom is a worker. As they got a little bit more, they weren't financially like sound when I was living with them. They started making money after we moved out. But she would have a maid when they got to Deerwood, and she would clean the house before the maid would come. I mean, she was that kind of woman. She comes over to our house. I love it because my wife does a lot of good things. She's not a duster in any which way. And so my mama will take everything outside, dust. She's not that mama that, why don't you dust for my boy? She just does it and doesn't say anything. Dawn Marie loves it.
That's
so
nice.
she didn't have to dust. As I got into my 20s, I quit that trying to develop myself. I lost myself in my early 20s of development. It was more hanging.
I think everybody does.
I was hanging on.
Yeah.
I didn't know where I was
Or
going.
you thought you already knew everything.
I did.
Yeah.
Well, and I also thought the people I was hanging with, I didn't think I would live a very long life.
You told me that a whole bunch of times.
I was proud of it. I mean, that was the thought is, 27 was just like a forever.
Yeah.
I was 17. There was no way. I mean, I'd already lost 3 friends, but, and then Tyrone Powell, he went to Episcopal. We went to Episcopal, but we were not Episcopal lineage. It's second, third generations. And we were these guys that played roughneck football at University Christian, and we got work scholarships to go to Episcopal, and it was really play football. And it changed Episcopal. And they had a good football team anyways. We brought a little toughness to them, but I got more out of it than they got out of me because I got an education. It was a young lady much like you, and her name was Miss Albritton, and he's heard me say her name all the time. She was my English teacher, and I was just some redneck. They used to make fun of me because I was the only guy there that dipped. And so I would always be, I would always be hiding it in my underwear or whatever. And Coach, I worry. But they began to show me a vision of life past what I thought existed. Now, my dad traveled, and he took us out on RVs, and we saw the country. But she opened my mind mentally to books and to bigger words. And you said one word I really liked. Something toddler.
My nickname.
Toddler.
Hmm?
Is that what it was? I'll go back and watch
Okay.
it.
My nickname when I was younger was Debbie Dictionary because I like words.
Do you?
Yeah.
Okay, I did not. I wasn't a big, but they always like genre. I remember when I first heard somebody, Miss Albright, use the word genre about talking about books. I was like,
genre. That sounds so fancy.
I was like, that's sexy. What is that word? Genre. And I was, and now I love that word, and it's all because they're. But my kids, I would do a word a day, and it didn't always stick.
I love that.
I do too. I mean, some people do Bible verse a day, but I mean, continue to expand my vocabulary. Help me not give up on the micro wins. And we were talking about it last week. That's what saved my life as a young man with no real direction. My father was there to give it to me. I wouldn't accept it. And so I developed micro wins. And I would, I wanted to buy a car. So $500 I need to save up. And, all of a sudden I would set pre-goals to the goal, $75. Hey,
That's
man, let's try.
smart.
Well, I didn't know that.
You already intuitively knew things that people teach.
I think I got it from other people because I was such a chameleon, So I was this close to running with the gangsters the best I could. I'm not talking about real gangsters. I ain't no Billy.
Bloods and Crips. And
Well,
okay.
I did buy Orange Crush 3 years ago. I'll let you go Google it. Trick Daddy, I brought him in. He was the biggest drug dealer in Jacksonville. I did not know that. I was sitting with the mayor of Jacksonville, and I told I am bouncing real quick, but this is interesting. I told my wife, I said, I'm fixing to be handed power and money. I felt it. It was like a year or 6 months before. And I got in, I helped a guy buy lawn equipment. And then his son built something for me at one of my places, and he had done time in jail. Because of my brother, I like second chances. And so I'm always looking for that wounded, that has something, because that was me. I almost went the other way. And so I'm looking for that next Brett. Always have been. And God, I hate it when I find them because they're idiots. But anyways, and I just got to where I had to say no, enough. And I didn't know how to, because gradualism had sucked me so far down the road. And so here I am pulling up with these guys. And I remember high school, this guy pulls up, hey man, let's go. It was after a football game. And I go to get in his car and there's bullet holes in his oh no, see, I was excited. Now I wanted to be in the car. Are these people chasing us? What's up, man? Woo!
Oh,
Woo, woo,
wow.
woo.
Yeah, that's that Y chromosome.
Yeah.
thing,
And you'll know something. I sat there. Now I'm bouncing back with Dawn Marie when I told her, and it was 6-8 months later. I'm sitting with the mayor of Jacksonville, the fire marshal of Jacksonville, who, don't tell me they're racist. He drew out all of our after hours parties plans, which the fire marshal of Jacksonville took the time for us, and we were not bringing in this big festival. By then, I had realized what I'd gotten into, and I was in pure gangster rap. And no, I got pictures that we'll have to post up here shortly of me with. I had like 9 security. They were all vested up and AR-15, and
wow.
I'm running around. Oh, I mean, we went from Miami to Atlanta, and it runs. It's in the historical Black College spring break.
Oh,
Well, this
in Atlanta?
yeah, all
What's
the
it called?
old Orange Crush.
Oh, I thought no. There's another thing called.
Yeah, Mikey and all them. He a sissy. He didn't have enough money to get back to Atlanta.
Yeah, that
I
was crazy.
can't think of the name of that thing that they used to have, like spring break in Atlanta.
It changed, and then there were
I
shootings.
can't think of the name of it.
Yeah,
I'm looking up.
Yeah, then they had.
Starts with an S, I think.
I don't know, but this one's been going on since 2015. I haven't been involved. I'm not involved anymore because the street hustled me. So, but by the time I got into it, what my goal was to not. I didn't have all this equipment. I was trying to make it I'm also a sports agent's advisor. I'm not an agent. I'm an advisor. So I help kids and getting into schools, and if I can fill out scouting reports and things like that. There's no money to be made in it necessarily. It's more just it was because of my son helping mentor young people, and I was going to make it where we went with athletes and did videos because they were really good at videos and everything. And we walked into Fleming Island. I had all these gold teeth, dreaded up guys because we were shooting a video for a basketball player who was a Caucasian, wasn't really being noticed, but he could hit threes and everything. And so I didn't realize he's bringing 7 or 8 of his boys. And here we are. I mean, Fleming Island, you go to that basketball game, it's highly Caucasian. And I'm just leaning up with all these cameras, and everybody's got dreads down. I'm like, oh my gosh. And, we never did finish that because by then they had hustled me and I was gone. But I have found that people that have that kind of chameleon damage early in life, whether it be internal, just creating it in their head, or it's actual real. Because I've talked to people that have had way harder lifestyles than me, sexual abuse and all this kind of ugliness that this world offers, and they'll be healthier than me.
Yeah, I think you have to go through the hard stuff. And be broken for a little bit and then build back. And then you got to
be willing to quit being a victim. That was my biggest, I didn't even realize I was wanting to be that victim.
So when I don't think I did it perfectly because I did it alone. But as a kid, I was going through some sad, hard stuff. And I would read YM magazines and teen magazines and all these other children that were going through similar life. And I would, they all turned into losers. They all they went to drugs, and they dropped out of school, and they got married young, and they, like, I just was like, well, I cannot control the things I can't control, but I can control me, and I will be damned if I'm going to let this thing I can't control destroy everything.
Do you think
and so I chose to be like, I was a really good student, and I was active in like theater and in extra clubs.
And it wasn't to please your parents as much as it was you were just done. You saw a path that.
Well, I was determined to not be a loser.
And you came up with that on your own.
Mm-hmm.
So see, that's fascinating because there was guys at University Christian. This is not ragging on any school. They're in every school. But back in the 80s, you could wear the black trench coat and bring a knife to school.
Yeah.
And he would sit there and carve on the desk, and he would draw these like torture chamber pictures. Well, I would sit in the back by him and chit chat with him. Now, I would never draw any of that. I didn't wear a trench coat. I was never heading that way. That guy today, by the way, is a dynamic man. He came in my Wood U store one day and is in IT.
Awesome.
And is doing, oh yeah,
that's cool.
Is way up. Knew my brother-in-law who.
Did you get the name of that?
Freaknik.
Freaknik, yes. Freaknik.
There it is.
Yeah.
No, I don't think it was that. I think that was a precursor to it. But it was really funny because we were doing well. When I started getting out of it, is my wife is a doll, but she's very naive, and in a good way. That's why she stayed with me. If she wasn't, she'd have left me. A normal woman would have left me. I was just a knucklehead. And so they invited me to a party on a boat in Miami with Great Ape, and y'all can look these people up, but there was a bunch of other people. And my wife's like, that is awesome. I was like, I'm not going down there. She goes, why? I said, there will be hookers and cocaine. What are you talking about?
Yep.
This is, no. And that's when I realized if you're going to get into that world, you have to partake in another kind of a world that I want no part of.
Mm-hmm.
You do not one rapper out there has gotten to where and it sort of got exposed with P. Diddy, but not one rapper.
Yeah, I was going to say that was on the news today, right?
It is everywhere. Listen.
Or no, Sean Combs.
Sean Combs, P. Diddy, same bozo.
But that's the one that they're talking about right now.
Mm-hmm. But even on we got noticed in Atlanta, went to Moorhead College and won a contest. All my boys, we rolled up in there playing it's all about presentation, what you look like. And I sat there with a guy who had a gun in his hip, smoking a joint. He was 16 years old. I'm looking at Paco, who was not Spanish, but he uses Paco so that, whatever, cops can't find him. If there's a guy named Paco. That's what I was told. I could care less. He's a bitch, too. Because he said he'd see me, and I ain't seen you yet, Bubba. Anyways, I took his car back from him. Yeah, I'm that idiot. No, I mean, on the Normandy and Lane, I'm over there at an after-hours club at 2 o'clock in the morning with a tow truck jacking it up as they're running in there getting drugs out. By then, I was in a mess.
But this is because Brett helped him and bought him a car.
I bought him a car. No, I co-signed for a car.
Yeah.
And he wouldn't pay the insurance, which was canceling my license. And I called him. I said, Pac, man, come on, bub. We were sort of already split. I said, come on, bub. Pay your bill, man. You don't tell me what I do. Okay, I'll be seeing you. And I had to take. And so my son ended up taking that car to Michigan, and it's gone now. So I used to send him little videos of it. I like to poke the bear. I like to poke the bear.
Yeah, poke.
I mean, well, he's a gangster. He's supposed to be all badass, and they're supposed to be able to come get you. When they say they're going to get you, they're going to get you. And what I'm showing his people is I'm still standing. And my address is 1244 Summerfield Court. I'm there all the time. And they won't come.
Well, I hope not.
I hope they do. Because they're going to find out that there's a power greater than them. This is not a badass talking. What I know is I have a God. I have a big God. And that doesn't mean lightning bolts come. They may get it. They may get what they want. But in the end, I'm going to get what I want. My story will be told. And that story will then just grow. If whatever they try to do, God's going to make it better. So I walk in no fear.
Yeah.
And now I'm not looking to prod. I guess at times I do. There's guys in the Bible. Remember Elijah in the Bible? I don't know how many people like the Bible, but for me, some parables, real, I don't care. It was a great story. where the false people, they made these altars and they were trying to call on their gods, and they made all these altars, and Elijah's sitting up there. He was a prophet in the Bible. Go study it if you're interested. I'll post some verses. And Elijah's sitting. I can just see him up there like a little cock. He was dirty and nasty. I mean, he lived in the street, ate locusts. You know, he's this crazy guy. And as they're building these altars, it says it in the Bible. He's like, hey, listen, why don't you pour some water on it? Why, they were cutting themselves and crying to their God to consume their altar to show that it was the real God, because Elijah challenged them because he had a big God. Now, in today's world, if you talk like that, they're like, well, you're crazy. You can't test God. Like, I'm not testing God. I'm saying, if it's your will, let's go, kid. And Elijah sat there and, why don't you yell a little louder? And he's poking them. And all of a sudden he walks away after they pour water and nothing. And then he talks to God and he says, Lord, and I'm paraphrasing and butchering it. He said, Lord, I pray you consume it all. They know that the power that where the power really comes from. And obviously the story is told that fire came down and gobbled it all up.
Yeah.
You know, that's the God I serve. I've experienced it. Whether it's a sky god to other people, I have been sitting in court and looking at rightful punishments that I deserved, and miracles happened. And I didn't lose my business. And I didn't go to prison for a year and a day. All this was hanging over my head because I was an idiot drinker and would get behind a wheel. And I never hit anybody. You know, I was a good drunk driver. I got everybody home. You know, I was that idiot.
Yeah.
And
The confident one.
You see me peeking up at you. It's like, yep,
Well,
you got me home.
okay, well, let me tell you something. There were times that I was literally, I don't want to say going insane, but I was so miserable with my life. I was making more money I ever made. I could buy anything I wanted within my realms, and yet I was hollow. I was empty because I was spiritually dead, whatever that spirituality is to you. That's why I love the spiritual side and not the Christian side, although I technically consider myself a Christian. I like, my oldest calls himself a Christ follower, and I like that because I think I and some of the religions that I've seen, we bastardize that word Christian, you know, to the point that this guy that blows people over is a Christian,
Well,
and this guy.
Yeah, I think there are people that think, well, everything is up to like what interpretation I
Exactly.
choose, instead of just the truth.
And if you really just want to know the truth, I don't think there's no coincidences in the Bible, and it says, "Seek and ye shall find." There's no real parable about what you can be seeking and how to seek it. It's pretty broad.
Or when you'll find it.
Or when you'll find
and
it.
also, like bad things happen to good people
Absolutely.
all the time in the Bible.
Absolutely.
You know, so it's not like, well, because I believe in God, nothing bad's going to happen to me, because that's just not how that works.
The 12 disciples, not a one of them
I
were
mean,
good
Jesus
people.
didn't have a very nice day,
No.
right?
No.
Like, I mean,
I am by no means Peter, but I correlate with him a lot. I can see me going, I love God, pulling out a sword and fighting for him, and then the next day, I don't know that guy. What are you talking about?
Yeah,
You
and then
know.
being like, oh no.
Yeah. And there's others that are doubting Thomas. I think they're all in there for a reason. You know, the attorneys and the fishermen, and none of those guys were looked highly upon in those days. You know, and Jesus didn't go get all the leaders and the mayors and you know, he went and got the lowly guys.
Oh, I thought I put that on
That's
the Do Not
okay.
Disturb.
What song is it? We get to hear it. Let me hear the
It's
song.
my, it's my ring.
I know, but we wouldn't hear the song. Okay.
Can you? I have,
Yeah.
It's my son's
Just
school.
walk away for a second.
Okay.
Walk away for a second. I like the song, though. See if we can
Yeah,
find that.
that's catchy.
That young lady, that's what I'm talking about.
Yep.
You folks, I'm going to get her on here more because I want to make sure I streamline her thought process.
Mhm.
She walks with peace. I haven't gotten that with her yet. She'll see this but that's really, when she walks around, there's a presence of peace in her and of innocence. And I don't mean like
No, I could see that.
stupid or, you know, ignorant or naive. I mean, but it's actually willful innocence. And she's sort of telling the story now in between me bouncing around about, you know, where she made choices.
Yeah.
That was sort of interesting about. Yeah. You're fine. We're talking. You're good. This is live. She's got her boys at school. She's on the phone. I say live. We are going to start going live though.
That's going to be cool.
Well, it's basically the same thing. The biggest difference.
What would we do? Just hit start streaming instead of
Yeah.
start recording?
Yeah, the biggest difference is people will be able to comment live, which you'll have to be more involved, and then you'll stop if somebody's saying something that I don't see.
Yeah.
What I might do is put the.
Is there a way to get a second monitor so we can both read?
I was thinking about putting it here.
Okay.
And having a monitor on here as well, something bigger. We'll get a bigger screen and all. But back to her. So she walks with in my opinion, and this is, I'm not a psychologist in any which way, but she walks with a healthy, peaceful mentality, and then somehow she just exudes. When you walk by her, you get happier. And I'm not being a dork. Or maybe I am being a dork, but it works for me.
But if it works.
Yeah, and there's she's not the only one, but every time I see her, she works hard. She's involved, but it's the way she engages people. And I watch from afar, I don't know her that well. I'm getting to know her better. But when she shares this triangle, holy crud. So what did she say again? She said from victim to victor. So you got victim, villain, and hero.
Yep.
That is awesome. If I get nothing else, victim. So even if you play the hero, you're in that cycle. That's pretty interesting. It's also pretty interesting that there are multiple organizations that use the triangle. Triangle is a powerful tool. 3 different corners. Do y'all think I'm just babbling? Maybe I am. So victim to victor. Have I become a victor yet? No.
Yeah.
Well, okay.
Yeah.
Look at that. So this is awesome. I said no, you said yeah.
Yeah.
Which I agree with you, but my mentality will not let me see that.
Gotcha.
And I'm not saying that's healthy. But like sitting here right now, there's nothing in me that feels victory. Not one thing. Although I know where we came from and where we are, and that's good. It's but that it needed to be called. It needed to be dealt with.
He hurt his thumb.
Aw.
So I was like,
Push that close to you. Is he all right?
I just
Do
told
you
him,
need to go?
No, I said,
Okay.
I said, okay, we'll go back to class, and when my meeting's over, I'll
Okay.
get you. So
Well,
I guess I'm
Did-
kind of glad you put it on Do Not Disturb when your kid's school can still.
yeah. No, that was meant to be. He needs to hear. Man, you mamas are important to us. My big old boys, like my daughter surprised us last night for Mother's Day and came. Well, really, she's coming up to party.
When is Mother's Day?
Next week.
Yep.
Is it?
Yeah, that'll be special. Dave's mom is in full dementia right now, and I mean,
so hard.
the last 6 months she went from.
Yeah.
I mean, I love
kind of talking to just making no sense. And now last week she broke her hip and we had surgery and she's in rehab and has no clue what's going on.
That is so hard.
And then Dave Dave lived with her, not just like a loser live with your mama, but he was there to help.
Yeah.
It's been some years. And then she fell just the other day, broke her hip and had surgery. Man, the end, as we get closer, it's tough. I see where the world, I'm never going to agree with this. I don't care what y'all say. I see with the world where they will get in times that, we're doing the elders favors by putting them down. I know that sounds weird, but what's euthanasia? I can see that. I don't know if I'll ever agree with it.
I don't.
We're already at abortions, and I'm not here to talk with.
It's funny you talk about that because me and my sister were sitting in the rehab room. She said, if I ever get like my mom, she's like, I don't want my family to go through this. She's like, I'll move to a state that has assisted suicide.
And that's a great topic because I don't know that it's necessarily selfish. I think it's fear
Well,
for
it's-
me.
Who wants to be in that place? I mean, it's,
But the thing is, fear, like with what my mom has, she has no clue what's going on. It's how it's affecting everybody else.
yeah.
To her, it's just a normal day.
Mm.
But there was a time between where she is now and when she was perfectly lucid, where she knew that she
I mean,
was
that came quick.
slipping. It's
But
it's
so
hard,
here's
it's
my
sad.
question: is but inside is she not still there? I mean, or do you think she's more coherent even versus what she can put out, or is her brain?
It's weird.
I mean, because she
It's-
calls you her husband at times.
Yeah, sometimes. I mean, she's just, during the day, it's a lot better. But there's a thing called sundowners. When the
Uh-huh.
sun starts going down, it's like a switch with my mom at 4:30 every day. Like yesterday, we're sitting in rehab and we were talking to her and everything. The next thing we know, she's trying to get out of bed. We're like, "What are you doing?" She's like, "I gotta go. I left a pot of boiling water on the stove, just like out of nowhere." So she's
Yeah.
she's out there.
I also noticed the mouth,
Mm-hmm.
that mouth where the mouth's half open breathing. That's a you and I get to talk really deep, and I
Mhm.
appreciate that because I think it helps people. But that's a sign, isn't it, that you're starting to get closer to
Yeah.
letting it go or giving up? It's not giving up. It's just
No.
tired.
Let's put it this way. The other day when she did that, it was like watching my dad the day before we put him in hospice.
His dad passed away at a young age.
It's like in our life, we start out completely
Yep.
helpless, and then as mouth breathers, and all the
Yes.
things, and like when you grow older and more capable, then you have all this capacity, and then you start losing that capacity again, and it's like you're returning to
Yep.
that helpless.
And do you believe that? I'm sort of a loaded question. I'm putting on a T for you because I know you do, and it's good. But do you believe that health and eating makes a difference in the end as you get towards the end? Dementia, because was dementia even a thing 40 years ago?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, because of all it's hereditary from my mom.
Now they're saying it's diabetes 3.
Well, okay.
Have you heard that?
It's a brain
Yeah.
damage.
It's a narrowing of the blood cells to the brain, so the brain doesn't get enough oxygen.
There's probably a lot of different ways
Yeah.
of having dementia.
Because
but
head trauma can be that too, right?
Mhm.
can cause that.
Because I've had a lot of concussions, and my short term memory, it's gotten better, but it's never going to go back where it was.
Yeah, I had a head injury.
Did you?
So scared. I don't want to have dementia. I really
So-
want
okay.
to do what I can to prevent that.
Okay, so you and I are in the same boat then.
Yeah.
Mine were, some of mine were just stupidity. One night, one was I was a drunk. I was sitting there one night, and they said I was just
Alcohol
drinking.
will damage your brain.
Well, not only that, but I was sitting there
He was
drinking straight up, and they said
standing-
I just went, and I was about 3.
Oh.
They felt the whole tile shake when my head hit first, and that was an ugly night. I don't want any more of that.
So yes, you can. I mean, there are. There's so. I mean, right now, and look how smart scientists
Yeah.
are, and doctors and neurologists are.
Yeah.
There's still so much about the brain we don't know
Yep.
and don't understand. But we do know, obviously, that being healthy.
But
is-
which one? Okay, here's where I struggle. The FDA is meant to help us, and I don't see it.
Okay, so yeah, okay, it was created.
Right.
But right now, I feel like what's this is so many. This is like
This
all the
is what
things.
a podcast
So,
is.
okay.
Go for it.
Okay, let's go back to where the FDA
Yeah.
is then. Okay, so the issue I have, or the issue that a lot of people have with the FDA and with the drug companies, is that when you take any entity and you give them a lot of power,
Yeah.
they often start working, like power corrupts, absolute power corrupts absolutely.
Yep.
I think we now have a place where Big Pharma has a lot of pull
A lot.
politically.
Yep.
They are really what funds medical schools.
Yep.
So that's why that is already messed up and not pure.
Right.
And then the FDA, I think, there are things that are approved for the American
That won't even get into Europe.
that they won't allow. But you know what? I'm hoping. And this is a political thing, and I know people.
Fire
have such,
away.
People But see, this is okay. I don't have I am solidly on my side and I
neither.
only see my side and I think everybody else is bad and dumb. Like, I don't think that. But I think that's why it's dangerous to talk politics because
So
a lot of
polarizing.
people think, well, this is what I think. And if you think different, then you're a horrible person.
Yep.
And everybody thinks it.
They don't understand compromise anymore.
Or just the idea that, you know what, I don't agree with that guy, but I also don't think he's the devil.
Right.
This is what I think.
Yep.
I would not be friends with Donald Trump. I don't like him
Me
as
neither.
a human being. I don't think he's the devil. I think he's got some good intentions and he's trying, and I think we should let him have a try.
That Pope comment, that Pope picture was
I
stupid.
don't know. Yeah, and I heard about that
The
this
White
morning.
House, it was on the White. That's stupid.
Pretty dumb.
That was
Yeah.
stupid.
I hadn't seen it,
Yeah.
but
No,
that's
he's
pretty dumb.
literally in a white and
pretty
gold.
offensive.
Yeah. And
And
I'm
a
not Catholic.
I am.
Okay, I'm not.
Yeah.
But he's sitting there in it, and then
That was dumb. Not a nice thing to do.
not the professional, but the main White House thing then posted it. That was the dumb
that's
thing.
the dumb
Very
thing.
Bad decision.
And we all
yeah.
know what Trump is. We know he can get
I-
off kilter.
Yeah.
It's
so
the
I don't-
fiscal side
But I
I
also
wanted.
don't hate him. I don't
No.
think that he's the devil.
No.
I think that he's got some good ideas.
Yep.
But the people who hate him just hate everything about him, and they can't allow that there might be a good idea. And I'm like, I don't think that Donald Trump is all good or all bad.
Yep.
I don't think Biden or
Yep.
Obama or like none of them are all good or all
Nope.
bad. They're just human beings who are doing the best they can with their perspective.
Yep.
And yeah,
And the government we have set up is just easy to corrupt. It's just plain and simple.
Yeah.
Money. If you want to stop this, get rid of lobbyists. Period.
that's
no
and
lobbyists.
that's where so that's going back to that part with like the FDA. I think like they allow things in our
Yeah.
food that I don't think should be in our
No.
food.
Well, the people that used to work for them then become the lobbyists.
Well, it's because big pharma is a
Yeah.
thing, so is big food,
Yep.
and these people have political power,
And they own the
so
same thing.
That's and they well, all of the people that ran the cigarette companies, when it came out that cigarettes are really bad for you, they bought up all the food companies.
Yep.
So they're still trying to make food addictive,
Yep.
and they hire scientists to figure out ways to like you have
Chick-fil-A.
what
Chick-fil-A has some of the most addictive ingredients in their foods that any fast food does.
Really?
Yeah.
And look at the
Search-
lines.
Search
I
real
believe
quick,
it,
Dave.
I believe it.
No,
But
not on your
also-
phone, on the computer.
They hire these food scientists to figure out how to formulate the
Yep.
flavors so that it's not too sweet or
Yep.
too salty or too crunchy or too caramelly or like they figure out
McDonald's wanted 7 bites to every fry. So they built a potato
to be that texture
to have,
and that.
And then if you go watch, and this is where we're going to have one more person that, and Dave knows this too. We have one more person here that can fly on searches and we can throw stuff up. Because what we do is we
Oh,
minimize.
that's cool.
Yeah, we on the screen we'll minimize you and I, but this will be up once he finds what he's looking for. It'll be up. We can play it and you'll hear it, so it'll get more interaction.
All right, I can't read.
Oh, Dave's blind though. Chick. Let's see.
Criticized for containing addictive ingredients, particularly MSG, which is a flavor enhancer that can increase cravings.
Put it up on the screen,
Everything
Dave.
has MSG.
Yeah,
Other
I was
additives
just
like-
about to mention MSG.
Sodium aluminum phosphate, dimethyl poly.
Hey, go down to that fact check. Let's make sure we're talking truth, because obviously fact check wouldn't lie to us. That's a joke, people.
Where are we going?
When I heard Chick-fil-A say their mac and cheese is a classic.
Oh no, that's not a good website. I don't want to go there.
Yeah.
Anyways, I'll post a link. That'll be another one that I'll post a
But
link
it's
on.
even like Nabisco and
Oh, yeah.
like I mean everything.
Are you familiar with Gary Brecka?
Yes.
Okay, I am
Yeah,
not.
and he's smart.
Yeah, the breathing I was just doing this morning. I use a lot of him, and then I use a lot of Chinese methods. Like I do swinging in my arms, and I'll hit the back to get the blood flow,
Yeah.
and the cupping and
To get your lymphatic system.
to get your
I think
and
that's super
underneath
cool.
here
Uh-huh.
to get because it gets clogged, and that's where a lot of women will get their breast cancers. Actually,
In the
yeah.
lymph nodes.
Yeah. But it's like when we get massages, we'll massage our shoulder, but we don't realize like underneath, if you push right underneath there is a major muscle right there.
Mm-hmm.
And you roll a ball on that. I roll on the cross balls a lot. Like my back, I got rear
Be
ended.
careful on those. Like just don't damage like in your lower back where your kidneys are, and be careful around your neck too.
Okay, tell me, how can I dance? Because I go hard
Just
on
be
it.
careful because
Okay.
you have like your kidneys are
Yeah.
kind of in the back and you don't want to bruise
I
those.
do. Yeah, I do
And
my
then in your
hips
neck,
more.
you've got like veins that
Right.
are you don't want to be messing with,
Right.
and nerves that are like right there.
Oh no, because I mean, you can knock somebody out. Have you ever karate chop somebody right
Oh,
there and watch
yeah.
them? Yeah, I mean, it's like right here.
Yep.
Spa.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Spock did it.
It's that
But he
pressure
did scoot-
point.
Yeah, but no, next week we have an MMA gentleman that he lives in Fleming Island, Zach Elkins, and he owns a food. Oh my gosh, I'm butchering it. Lean
Meal prep.
Yeah, yeah, but it is so healthy.
Lean impact.
Lean Impact. Thank you so much. And then he also has a pool business. He is a grinder, and he also has cancer, testicular cancer, just came out. And there's some other things about him. I'll let him whether he decides to share all that other stuff. But he's put this out in the open, so it's not like I'm blowing it up. But I want to sort of track with him because this man has such positivity. He's intense. You think I'm intense? Wait till this man sits down and looks you in the eyes. Your underarms will sweat a little bit. But it's not an intensity of at you. He has such a passion for life. You know me, I'm up early, go to bed late. He's up at 4 o'clock. Me and him were texting. I can text him anytime at 4 o'clock, and he's up. And how is this man doing this while going through chemo and the normal? I'm curious because I do dip and cancer, and I'm curious about these fasts. That's how I lost weight through calorie deficiency. Not healthy. Don't suggest anybody doing it the way I did it.
It's just hard.
It was hard initially. Yeah, it's hard, but I used peanut butter crackers. And I was a big boy, and I would eat however many I wanted. I'd drink a bunch of water in between, and I kept cutting down on the peanut butter crackers. So literally, I was eating 2 crackers for lunch. Now, I mean, I was doing fasting in a redneck way without even really knowing I was just calorie deficient, and I would plummet in weight. And my last one started because I got sick. I was climbing roofs and rhabdomyolysis. I didn't even know what that was, and it put me in the hospital. And it got
Scary.
my son had to tell me because he's a weightlifter, and I mean, my legs. It was the enzymes were eating my legs, and then you urinated out. It scared the crap out of me.
So that's one of the issues. Like, I think it's really wise to like work with a coach or a physician or somebody who's trained to give you education or kind of guidelines, because people who are like, well, I'm just going to eat less and lose weight. And it's like, well, what happened to nutrition? I don't care about nutrition.
No.
I'm just looking at calories.
Right.
I'm just looking at carbs or like, you
And I'm not dealing with the mental side.
Right.
And that was the other thing, which I sort of now want to jump into, a little bit of you, because you life coached, and do you still?
It's Optavia coach, so there's definitely some mindset and behavioral stuff but I'm not technically.
I mean, you're not saying you're
coach.
licensed and a life, and I understand that, but when
But
somebody
there are life coaches.
But when somebody gets with you and they start going through the weight loss process, I went through a lot of other things as I was losing weight. You begin to shed other things, and so emotional has to get in on it as well.
So much.
Yeah.
Yeah. In fact, like earlier, like we were talking about the drama triangle and the empowerment triangle.
Yeah.
So,
We were talking about that when you were away as well.
Yeah, so my clients get a couple, like I have them work through these books, because it is like, if you do anything, you can do anything and lose weight.
Right.
Find a program, you'll lose weight.
Right.
But do you want to lose it and then gain it all back again?
Exactly.
Or do you want to lose it and be like, have that be the thing that puts you on the path to becoming the healthiest version of yourself? And so like, even like with the shots, people are doing the shots, they're okay. It's a great tool for getting, a jump start on your health or on losing weight and feeling like, oh my gosh, I can do it. But if you make that the one and only tool you're using, well, a couple things like, worries about nutrition and losing muscle mass and all the things. But also that will work as long as you're doing it. And as soon as you stop doing it, if you haven't changed the way you think, then you'll slide right back into the habits that put you where you were to begin with.
And so cycles, and I love cycles. And from a young child, I always looked for cycles. It helped me. The same cycle of losing weight was the same cycle of me quitting drinking. It was the same way. It was realizing the action really led me to the mental healthiness, which then let me shed all the stuff you were talking about. I didn't know how to shed it. I wanted to shed it all. I shedded it through fighting. I shed it through, chasing girls. I shed it through business. I shed it through crying, helping others. It was every bit of it. Even when I was the hero, was sick. This right here, this triangle you just gave me, that's why I do this podcast. Because hopefully others will see the brilliance in it. If they don't, you touched one. Because this right here, now I'll chew on it for a while. Next time you're on here, we'll talk about it some more.
We can go over that because I've got information about how that works. And
No, I have, absolutely. If somebody wants to get a hold of you for what you do, give them like if you're sharing with somebody what it is that you do in business and in Optavia. Optavia. I'm going to get it, damn it. I'll get it sooner or later. Optavia.
It's okay. I don't blame you. I have the same struggles.
Yeah. But I love the name and I understand it. So, I mean, what is it that they get with you and what do they do?
Yeah. So when I first talk to somebody, usually I have them fill out like a jot form because I feel like it's a good way to put the stuff down and then we can talk about that.
Yeah.
And which things do we need to really discuss? Because I don't want to necessarily have I need your time all day so we can cover everything. So anyway, but basically I look at somebody, okay, where are you right now in your health?
Yeah.
And
setting goals then.
Or just okay, well, I'm overweight, I'm diabetic or whatever, whatever.
Fast lifestyle, can't make food.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
What's going on? Okay. And then do you have any kind of medical things that we need to know about?
What do you do with the sensitive people when you know it's an emotional thing as well? You ever get in with them early and you go, okay, these people have...
Well, I can think of one person in particular I'm thinking about. She had some binge eating disorder stuff. And so...
Which is real.
It's a real... And I am not a licensed therapist. That's not my wheelhouse at all. And I
find you a licensed therapist.
Yeah, and so we have a behavioral specialist that I reached out to, and I was like, well, this is what we're dealing with, and I believe this person has this, stuff going on. And
can you work side by side with him?
And he said, this is perfectly safe and healthy and all the things, but here are some things that have to be in place first. One, her physician knows what she's talking about doing with you and gives her the go-ahead. Two, she is actively seeing a therapist.
Yeah, because you walk a fine line. You can get yourself in a mess.
Well, I would be foolish of me to step in and be like, well, let me tell you how to think. I'm not, that's not what I do. So he said, as long as she is seeing a therapist and has her doctor give her the okay to work with you, it's fine. It's fine. But you need to be careful. So when they get in your lane.
Gotcha. So you've cleared all that up and you found somebody that fits all those criterias. Do you is it all about food and how food, or is there other aspects as well?
Okay, food is a factor. Like if you're unhealthy, if it's because you're, either your blood pressure is out of whack, and generally that's a habit, lifestyle illness, or you're too heavy, or probably all of the above, like your blood sugar's out of whack, and so I talk to somebody to find out what's going on with them and what do they want, and then we look at their habits. So we look at how are you sleeping? How are you moving? How are you eating? How is your mindset?
Do you start getting them to track it?
Yeah.
Because what doesn't get measured won't improve.
Right.
It's one of my oldest sayings. You got to measure everything if you want to improve. You could stumble into getting better, but if you really want to have a conscious growth that'll stick, I think you have to measure things.
Yeah, and you're not going to know you made a change if you don't know what you were doing before.
I asked my daughter. I said, "We've moved recently, last 6, 7 months, 8 months now, whoever knows, and I can't find my scale. Well, I get on the scale all the time, and I was talking to my daughter about it. She's like, I don't want to know. I'm like, it doesn't matter what the number is. It gives you a starting point. And she's not heavy or anything, but she's always conscious of her body. She's in the 20s, in college. I was like, you got to have a scale or some kind of measurement, or else how do you know a week or two down the road, am I heading in the right direction?
I agree. And it is only one measurement.
Mm-hmm.
So
only one.
It's not telling you, well, you're a valuable person. I can tell because of what the scale says.
And that's what I saw. To her, that scale was the all-encompassing.
And I don't want to see it because I don't want to see a number I don't like. Yeah.
Right. And I'm looking at my wife who is thin and she don't want to get on a scale. And I'm not here to push what I believe and how I live, even on my kids or my wife. Like, it's just a scale. Because when I got on it, it was like,
Well, and like, so for example,
shut up, Dave. Oh, no, it went around and around. I was it only went to 280. I was 305. I had to stay on it till I saw it go under 280. So
And then you had to do math.
yes.
it's kind of like, if you want to know, like, are you sick? And you take your temperature. Well, now you have one measurement of what's going on. Like, you don't know everything. So
Right.
the same thing with the scale. Like, you could be
a cold, could be an infection.
200 pounds
Yeah.
and like lean, mean,
Yep.
healthy, strong, or you could be 200 pounds and mostly fat. Like,
Yep.
it's, that's, the scale is one number.
And here's
so.
the other thing. I have, my dad obviously is of the age that, he's 80. So friends are getting sick. And I mean, it's, it's the normality of life cycles. Some of those men that have had some strokes and some issues were some of the healthiest men I knew on the outside looking in. But like me, they were just calorie deficient. They weren't eating healthy necessarily.
Also, I mean, another factor of your health is things like what's going on. How do you handle stress?
Stress.
And how are you taking care of your body? And
now, stress for me is an interesting thing because I had a lot of stresses when I worked with corporate. I was traveling, I don't know, 280 days a year from Missouri to Trinidad and the Bahamas, and we had and it wasn't fun in the Bahamas. It was like go work, get out. It was 16 hours a day. Yeah, it was just go, go, go. And I've shared this a few times because there'll be new viewers, but I mean, I would sit in hotel rooms and write goodbye notes to my wife because I was having panic attacks. I mean, hours of just waves. I didn't know it was a panic attack because of all the pressure that was on me for sales and pressures that I put on myself. And I mean, it was showing itself in throwing up blood, ulcers in my stomach, and drinking. I don't think I was really drinking hard then, but I was definitely eating hard. I mean, a 24-pack of wings, I'd wear them out and have an extra pack, for later. And then I'd slap, all the ranch, I mean, I was just
ranch, hot sauce.
But it was my drug. We can look at an alcoholic and go shame, and I'm all for it, because they kill people. But what is the food killing?
Food addiction is a thing.
It is a thing.
Yeah.
It is probably the highest addiction, more than even alcohol. I mean, judging by the people walking around this. I mean, I see you.
Well, and again, let's go back to what's allowed in our food and what these food industries are doing. I mean,
sugar,
they're deliberately addicting us, and all the things.
I mean, they're not even hiding it. One Dr. Pepper, which I love Dr. Pepper. And I used to drink, 10, 12 in a day.
Yeah.
Then we'd go drink beers and shots. I'm down to about one Dr. Pepper a day. It's like my coffee in the morning. But that is 137% of your sugar for the day. One can.
Yeah.
So I've gotten to where I drink about half to get the burn and the caffeine, and I pour the rest out.
You don't pour it out. Everybody here knows when you have a Dr. Pepper.
Oh, I leave it around
everywhere.
Okay, but I purposely don't drink them. Now I know I'm wasting money, but I'm either gonna waste 40 cents on a can.
And he's weird because he won't let us buy them the small cans.
No, because
it's something mental.
It is mental. Because if I buy the small cans, I will then drink all two of them, which will be the equivalent of a full one. And
that makes sense.
Man, sometimes you just can't fix every little quirk in your brain, and we want everything to be perfect. Sometimes I got to learn if I got a slice on the golf ball. Have you seen that one guy? He's got a hard slice, so he turns his
and he hits it all the way left.
He's like he's hitting it in the woods, and all of a sudden that thing's dead on the fairway.
Yep.
And until I can't fix everything at one time, and I know with the people you work with, it takes time, and so some things I just have to. My dyslexia, I just have to learn to work with it. My short-term memory that I lose, I just have to stop and go, I don't remember where we were. And there's usually one or two times in each one of these I can tell where I've lost where I was, my memory, and
but compared to when you first got after your accident, it's night and day.
Oh, I couldn't remember anything. It's been 3 years now?
Yeah.
So they say it's about as good as it's going to get. But I do memory exercises.
Good. Because your brain can keep on.
It can heal.
Yeah.
And that's where intermittent fasting. So what I used to do in calorie deficiency, now I'm trying to eat better and do the intermittent fasting. And I have been fascinated with the autophagy and what happens at 16 hours. I regularly do 16 to 20 hours, and I have more energy at my 18, 19 hours. And then I'm not ready to do 3 days, but about 28 hours in, I get stupid in my
Do you
brain.
do intermittent fasting intermittently, or do you do it like every
No,
single
pretty
day?
consistent. I'm 16/8 is what pretty consistent. Now, I allow myself to cheat. This morning I cheated. My daughter was home. What did I have? I had 2 bananas and 2 boiled eggs and half a Dr. Pepper.
Okay.
And so, the Dr. Pepper already shot my sugar up through the roof, but my body burns pretty quick, and everybody is. I guess you deal with that with your clients. Everybody's a little different, their body and how they metabolize things.
But I mean, like, science is science.
Science
So,
is
like,
science.
If you are on a building and you walk off the building,
You're gonna fall.
yep, every single
yeah.
person.
Now, my oldest, I am blessed and cursed. My oldest is all about weights and eating right because he's a sports nut, a health nut, and so he's gotten all my kids in it, and has gotten me in it, and
Growing muscle mass, man, do it while you're young and it's
Yep.
easy.
Yep.
Muscle mass it's like we don't even like we used to just think muscles were those things that
Right.
like made
They
us
look
stronger,
sexy
like,
on a
you
guy,
can,
or
like
yeah.
they help you do this,
Right.
but it's actually so much more now. Like
Yep.
now that we understand, it's like it's
The
your largest,
squats.
it's your largest endocrine
Yes.
organ. Yeah, and just like it helps every part of you, like, and it's your longevity. I mean, just build muscle mass.
Do you run as well?
I don't run. I should run. I don't run.
See, I don't like running. It jars my body too much, and I like the pool, and where I can
great.
run in the
That's low
pool because it's
impact
low
and- yeah.
impact, and I didn't have a pool. Once we moved, I finally found a house with a pool, and so I've enjoyed that. I like the cold plunges.
Yeah.
I didn't go to a cold plunge place because they say the water's better. My son lives in cold plunges because of but the healing stuff that's involved in that and intermittent fasting, the cells that are generated to go deal with, like, ladies get collagen pumped all into them, and yet at 24 hours, your or something, go look it up. Go find Gary Brecker. I've put a bunch of tags on.
He's
Go back.
awesome.
Oh, he explains it so much better than me. So I don't follow everything. I do his breathing as well.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the man said I had 7 years to my life. That's going to really suck because I can't tell him he's wrong if I die.
Yeah.
And then,
Or you get hit by a bus. And you're like,
yeah. I mean, you
Damn it,
can't,
Gary Brecker.
right. I mean, how does he really know when I'm going to die anyways for me to know if he's telling the truth? So I haven't figured that part out yet. But if you had, like, your first 2 weeks with somebody, you're assessing them, obviously. What's that major part that keeps popping up for weight loss that hill that a lot of people have to overcome?
getting out of your own way.
Getting out of my own way.
Yeah. So when I talk to somebody and I hear what's going on with them and what their habits are, and then at the end of it, I'm like, okay, this is what I think is the best plan for you. And my favorite one is the one that puts people into a fat burning, because you just lose weight so much faster.
Yeah.
And it's like when you're in fat burning, you're not hungry and cranky and all.
And
this
that's
stuff.
where the paleo diet, I mean, not paleo, but the keto diet comes in, right? The meat.
Keto, yeah, like and his ketosis is fat burning.
Ketosis.
But like the keto diet, the way those things
Right.
work, they're like eat a whole lot of like sausage and cheese and don't pay attention to nutrition.
Oh, is that what it is? Okay.
Like they're not healthy.
I'm talking about just the all meat. Like Zach's on an all meat diet
And
now.
how is that healthy? I'm sorry.
No,
I'm sorry.
talk about
I'm
it.
sure he feels good.
No,
but
this
how are you
is
getting
your
vitamins and minerals and nutrients, and like it's a way to lose weight, but it's not. To me, the best thing to do would be the thing that you can do long term, like forever and ever and ever, and it keeps you healthy. And I've heard a lot of people. I've seen podcasts and things where people
Right.
talk about going on these meat only
Well,
diets, and they seem happy. But I'm like, how is that sustainable?
It's not. I think what they do it for, and I'm not an expert on this, but I'm starting to understand a little bit more. I think the reason they do it is it resets your body to the point that it's okay to eat carbs
Right.
when your body knows to burn carbs first. And the way we as Americans eat, I'm paraphrasing, I'm not an expert on this, just what they say. And Gary, I got a lot of this from Gary, is once we set our body to start eating the right fats, we can reintroduce carbs, even breads, into our diet at a restricted level, obviously, and it then knows to eat that first. No,
Yeah, your body's always going to go to the fastest source
Right.
of energy. So yeah, you're
but
like,
I guess what he's saying is that the way we eat, it won't. It goes to the insulin issues because of the all the fatties and the mess that they put in our foods. And so by going to a meat only diet, it resets
is that like a
it.
detox or something?
Yeah, it's like a
so
reset.
Maybe I don't know enough about it. To
Yeah, I
tell
don't
you.
either. This is just paraphrasing, but another question since you you're okay. Since
I
you
was just
mentioned
trying to sit up and not be like I'm on my lower back.
when you said vegetables, I mean, now you get all these different. Now vegetables are bad, and the food pyramid is upside down. It should have been turned this way. There's so much information for guys like me. You're like, ah,
Well, I guess no vegetable. I mean, to me, if God made it, it's probably healthy.
yeah.
If people made it, it's probably not healthy.
So okay, now we're getting into the FDA again. How do we know now what's made by man? I mean, these grapes that I'm seeing, they're not real. Sam's has these grapes that are this freaking big, and
I don't know. Maybe they're real. I don't know.
you put them in the fridge and they last. How long
Yeah,
did our
those grapes last week were
how
huge.
long did our grapes last in the 80s? A week?
A week, maybe.
Yeah.
Now you come back 3 weeks later and they're just as
I don't
pop.
know. I don't know how they do it. I wish we could just eat the cleanest.
That is
thing,
the only thing that I buy organic, because organics is a hustle in my opinion.
I don't agree.
Or give me a company that's
Okay.
good and I'll try it.
I know. I just think organic is good. Like, so okay. My grandfather was a microbiologist for the CDC.
Okay.
And I remember I decided to go to all organic because
So that's
like
grass
meat-
fed.
grass-fed, free range, or not free range, pasture raised.
Right.
Like, yeah, I just wanted like the way
Because
the
free
way Laura
range.
Ingalls ate it. That's what I went. That's
Because
what I
free
wanna eat.
range is a crock. All
Free
they do
range is a
is put
crock.
them in a cage
Mhm.
and they move the cage in the grass.
Right.
And they're still
Yeah.
in cages,
So you
but
want
they're
pasture raised,
you want pasture raised.
free range, or grass-fed. You know, all
Right.
the things. So okay. So and the reason I decided, or even like learned about that, because that was 20
Right.
some odd years ago. My younger brother met the girl that he married, and he moved out to be with her, and got a job at, it was called Wild Oats. They don't. I think Whole Foods bought them out or something.
I
but-
remember that. That was the granolas and everything.
Oh, I don't know. It was just it was
Yeah.
a store out
I
there out
remember.
west. And he thought it was a crock. He was like, "This is so stupid. People are paying extra for." And then like he had a customer he was talking to. He went out on the sales floor and was
Right.
talking to this customer, and the guy was like, "Yeah, blah blah blah. We now do all organic." And Brian was like, "Oh, that's interesting," and
Right.
just talking him up. And the guy said, "Here's the deal. My daughter's 7, and she already started her period." And
That's true.
and he said, "So I don't know who they went to, but the person said go to organic," and he said her period stopped. And so like
The hormones that they put in.
yeah,
Yep.
and so and also like I think also the amount of body fat you have in your body can
Right.
maybe expedite hitting puberty or whatever. But
No, they definitely develop faster now.
oh yeah.
I mean, body wise, the breast, the
Yeah.
body, the menstrual
the hair
cycles,
and all the
the
things.
hair, right?
So anyway, so that I was like, whoa, this girl, like this child who had already hit her period way too young. I
Right.
mean, like stopped having them when the family converted to organic. So that was when I was like, okay, we're doing organic. Sorry.
That's okay.
And so I was at the store with my grandfather. We went into the store and I was buying this organic milk, and he was like, "I didn't buy organic milk when I was a kid." And I was like, "Yeah, you did. It was called milk."
That's
yeah,
true.
Exactly.
Okay, that's true.
Yeah. The
No,
milk
that's a good
today
point.
that's on the shelf is not the milk.
No, it's
no,
not.
there's so much added to it.
I've gotten to where I don't even drink milk anymore. I
I
know.
don't drink milk.
Yeah,
either.
I mean, we're the only species that drinks another species' milk.
And beyond being a baby.
Beyond being a baby.
Yeah.
And like breakfast, they always said it was the most important meal of the
Yeah. You
day.
know who invented that?
Yeah, the food companies. And what do you know? They do it right in front of our face. We break our fast, because while we're sleeping, we're in a fast.
Mhm.
Dave never thought about intermittent fasting.
No.
But then when he realized that I count my sleep time. So if I sleep for 5-6 hours, well, and I quit eating at 7, well, 7 o'clock the next morning, that's 12 hours. So I make it at lunch. I've made 17 hours.
think-
Yeah.
I don't know. There's more for me to learn. I'm not
Right.
100% sold on intermittent fasting, but I think the way you're doing it with an 8-hour window of
Yeah.
eating is
Yeah.
fine.
No,
I think
I'm not a big faster. Now, I am interested in doing a 3-day fast because of what the regenerative cells. I want to test it because I'm with you. I don't know enough. I do know this. My 16 and 8, and sometimes when I push it to 2021, my energy levels shoot up. I'm not tired. Now, about 24, 27 hours, I have the brain fog kicks in, and they can tell. It's like, no ideas are coming, and it's time for me to eat something. But I mean, all my body functions, my getting out all my weight, everything is just regulated. I'm off all pills.
that's awesome.
Yeah, other than the Xanax, which is intermittent. It's more of a mental addiction. Now I know there's a physical addiction, but I don't take what they tell me to take. This started, man, I've told the story. I'm not going to tell it again. But it started in Vegas when I first took one. I didn't know what was wrong with me. I was not going to get back
do you
on the
still
plane.
get panic attacks?
If I'm not, I don't know. And see, that's the mental and the physical addiction to Xanax. I went through hell in those, and I don't want to ever taste another one. And so there's a fear of, I don't always take them, but I have them. I know it's sort of like Copenhagen. I know it's with me.
I mean, I think that's
I've
not
tried.
bad to have something.
No,
arresting
well,
you.
this is where I put it, and I'm gonna tell anybody. Pills were never my issue. Being alcohol, for some reason, pills. They've been around me forever. Like they gave me 3 Xanax a day and only took 1, and I would come and hand them back the rest because I didn't need it. I only took it as needed. There were days that I had to take 2, but Xanax. I didn't know what Xanax was, and I was drinking, and this is when my drinking got bad. I didn't realize Xanax was like 6 beers. So if you take Xanax, understand this. I would be at a bar at 305 pounds sitting in a corner, and some guy, and Dave's been there. I don't know the guy, haven't said a word to him. We're just sitting there watching sports.
Yep.
And all of a sudden, I had a big water, the big pitchers, because at that time I thought if I put water in between, I was still figuring out drinking. I thought, okay, if I put water in between, then it'll work. So I had a big old pitcher of water and watching a game, and I heard the people come in. That place probably had, 300 people in it? I don't know.
It was probably about 150.
Yeah, whatever. It's packed. And the guy comes over, and we're in the back right corner, comes over, reaches over across me. There's people all lined up, grabs my water. I had a straw in it, grabs my water and takes it and just starts drinking it. I didn't even turn around. Whatever the waitress's or the bartender's name was, I was like, Kim or whatever her name was. I said, will you give me another water, please? And we just kept watching the game. She put that straw in. The guy went to go grab it again. It was on. I think that when people, I think if there is a God, there are darker places, and I think they know how to set us aside. And each one of us has our own vices,
Mm-hmm.
and mine is conflict, and I find it often. I don't look for it, but it comes. And then I don't know people like you that is there conflict in your life? Do you have constant conflict like family and troubles? And I don't need to know the trouble.
Now I'm older, so not as much.
Yeah.
But I don't like conflict
Yeah.
at all.
See, I run
gives
to
me,
it.
Well, that's my problem, is that if it comes at me, not that I'm not tough, but like I have this like famous story. We were in New Orleans for our 10th anniversary, just to spend a nice long weekend, just having fun. We got married in October, so it wasn't even like a really busy time.
Right.
But Bourbon Street's always busy.
Always busy.
And so we'd just been to Pat O'Brien's, so we were not feeling much pain, right?
Right.
And I didn't want to walk down Bourbon Street because it's so crowded, so we took like a back alley,
Right.
which is smart.
Yeah. Not in New Orleans.
And so as we're walking down the alley, I see across the street there's these 5 guys that are beating up these 2 guys. And in my inside, I am like 10 feet tall and muscular and male.
Good.
And like, so I can't walk by that. So I was like, hey, like, and Justin's like, Debbie, because he's like, I can't take on 5 guys.
Right.
And I'm like walking across the street, like, I don't know what I think I'm going to do.
Right.
And he's like, Debbie. And so I'm like, huh? And so like, I'm drunk, and he's
Right.
behind me saying, stop. But I'm watching this thing happen. So I'm like being pulled.
Yep.
And like there's at one point like a guy is down on the ground and he's being kicked, and I'm like, once to me, and I don't know, I haven't been in that many fights, but once if you're in a fight and you beat somebody up and they're down on the ground, you have now won. You can stop hitting them. But he kept on kicking, and so like in my mind, I was thinking, I think what I'm going to do is jump on the guy on the ground, and either they'll be so surprised they'll stop kicking, or I'm going to get kicked, you know. But I was about to do it
Right.
because I can't, I have this inability to not get involved
Good.
because I'm a busybody. I just can't, and so
You're a
but
nurturer.
I'm an idiot.
Yeah.
Anyway, but so Justin's like, Debbie, just don't do this, and I can't not, and so anyway, they ended up running away, and the police
Right.
came out, and now the guy on the ground's throwing up, and I'm thinking he has a concussion. No, he's drunk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
um, but the police came, and they were like New Orleans
Yeah.
cops, and so they talk like Justin Wilson,
Yeah.
and apparently it was like local boys that
Yeah.
got beat up by like college
Local-
kids that were
yep.
visiting, and the cops were like, "That's okay." And I can't say it in the New Orleans
The New Orleans
accent, but
draw.
they're like, "That's okay. They're going to go into a bar. They're going to run off at the mouth. That
Right.
the locals will take care of them." So they weren't even worried about trying to find these guys. But I was like, yeah. So that's me, is my inability to not get involved. So
But-
I don't look for fights, but I don't like
Yeah.
We'll back away.
You
if
know,
there's somebody to save, I'm like do 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 do. Like
the hero part. I'm glad you don't have the inability to stop, because we need that man and that woman in the grocery store when that kid's screaming, "This ain't my dad."
right. And I
You
will,
would speak up
Yeah.
well but
while
I-
people pull out phones and
likely the way I die will be getting into something, that because I don't have that self-preservation thing. So like,
I don't
I
either.
you heard about that guy that drowned saving 2 children. I'm like,
Yeah.
that's me. I mean,
yeah.
that will be me. Like I probably will die doing something I shouldn't have done, but I can't not do
You
it.
keep saying shouldn't have done, but
Well, okay.
let's use your
prudence.
worst case analogy that your sweet husband loses the love of his life
I'm gonna
as
be
you
sorry, but
as you hang on as you save people. You've probably, if you're doing that, you've probably saved quite a few people in your life. So if your life goes doing that, there's other people that are alive because of you.
yeah.
And that's the way my brain goes.
And honestly, like if
You
you're
can't
gonna
be anybody
like,
that you're not.
Oh, we're so sorry that Mamaw died, but like
Yeah.
she died saving somebody, so there's
Yeah.
that, like
Oh, I'd love to go out in a fire, in
I
a
don't-
chaos.
No, I don't want to go out in a fire.
No, I'm not talking about a
No.
literal fire. I mean, I'm not trying to go out in a fire. I mean, like in a
In a blaze of glory.
yeah. I think we all want something fun. Mine will just be on a bed where they won't wipe my butt right. I'm gonna take my I'm gonna be the one that gets kicked out of all the old folks' homes, grabbing the nurses' booties.
Oh, jeez.
The nurses will not be like, you are not the first one,
Oh,
sir.
oh no, not at all. I you know what though? If I ever do get in that, I'll be a people pleaser even with the nurses. I want them to be happy that they're taking care of me, so I'll try
Yeah.
to be kind. I won't tell them about my sore.
He says this. He couldn't even deal with the nurses for one day in the hospital.
That's true. Well, now hang on a second. I did come in. I was your boyfriend one day.
Yeah. Well, I'm talking about when you were in.
Oh no, I couldn't. No, they bugged me, but I know they meant well.
Yeah.
So they were waking you up all the damn time.
Oh,
All
my gosh.
the time.
Yeah.
I don't. But I tell you, that was how many years? I don't even remember. I don't.
It was like 3 or 4.
Okay, and we're gonna wind this up for this one here in a short minute, because you and I could talk for 5 hours, and that's why I knew you'd be coming on again, because you have a wealth of information. We've just scratched the surface. You have. I mean, you have a radiance about you that is. Listen, no, this isn't just beauty, and it's something about people that have and we were talking about when you were away, that have the ability to give off a presence. And when you give off a present, when I first saw all y'all, I watch people, and there's nothing fake about you.
Nope.
And there's nothing, there's no negative vibes. I know
No.
they're
Tell you a
there.
story.
Yes.
So last week, I am just a dork, and I figured out I'm just it's me.
Do you hear these words, Dave?
But
It's
I
sort
know.
of weird.
Yeah.
It's like it's my
Look how
sister.
Yeah.
self-deprecating. Okay, so
I call myself an idiot. I call myself a dork
You
all
call
the
yourself a
time.
dork.
So I was
all the
okay. So I
time.
my son goes to private school,
Right.
so I don't get to put him on a bus.
Right.
I have to go get him and I go take him, whatever.
Right.
So I've gotten to know. We have police officers who come to the school and spend the day there, and
Right.
then they help us with traffic at
Yeah.
the end of the day. Well, dumb Debbie was like, "I'll get involved in that," so it's like freaking hot outside, and like you're dying.
Ain't
But
nobody
now I'm
happy
friends
with
all
you.
the cops. I'm like, "Hey, Jason, hey, Eddie," like I'm talking to the cops. So this one guy that I had gotten to know when the fair was in town, because I don't know, he's nice and I like nice people.
Right.
So he was working the carpool. So I park my car and I bounce over there and I talk to him. I'm like, "Here, put these signs here." And I'm like talking to him, and then the cop comes. I'm like, blah, 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 talking to all my friends, right? And so finally I was like, well, I guess I'll go back to my car now. And so I'm walking and I realized that like most normal human beings put one foot and another foot, another foot, another foot. And Debbie goes boing, 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 boing. So I'm kind of bouncing back to my car. And this man is in a little Mazda. It wasn't a Miata, but it's a little Mazda convertible thing.
Right.
And as I walk by, bouncing by, he's like, "You have such a good energy." And I was like, "Oh, good." Because now I'm self-aware. And I was like,
Right.
"Oh, I probably look like an idiot bouncing across." But
No,
he said the same thing.
no.
That I was like, "Okay, thank you." Because I felt, and what I said to him was that I always thought when I was a kid that one day I was so curious what it was going to be like to be a grown up, because
Me
I see
too.
grown ups being so like they're kind of
Stuffy.
boring, or they seem to know what they're doing. And I thought, well, one day I'm going to be a grown up. That's going to be so cool because won't feel stupid all the time.
Yeah.
But I'm still this, so
Yeah.
like I don't think I'm going to be a grown up.
You know what? I think this is a healthier, because I'm more like you. I think this is a healthier grown up than the grown ups I grew up with, because they were willing to hide all their imperfections to give off a presence that they had it all under
Or
control.
maybe they just really are calm people. Like,
No, not the ones I knew. They were
Okay.
hiding.
okay.
They were absolutely hiding. There was chaos in their lives, and they put on a. They didn't like go, "I'm going to put on a presence." It was just self-preservation
Right.
of, in that generation, you don't show stress, you don't show, and then my family goes gray at 35. I mean, every one of my uncles are gray, and I thought I was going to have my grayness early, and I love salt and pepper hair. Is that mine, really? Oh my
Good. Ha.
gosh! Oh, wherever it is, who cares? They can't hear it anyway. Let it ring for a second.
I was like,
I didn't even put mine on.
I was like, what is that?
I know. I don't even know where it is. Okay, so, I
hair-
done lost my whole
your hair's
thought
not gray.
process. Yeah, the hair's not gray, and so I was sitting here waiting, and I realized that I deal with stress differently than a lot of my family. I'm willing. I was a more sensitive kid, and compassion came in my mid-20s, and by 30, I really had a tenderness to people and intuitiveness that Becky and I talk about a lot. I don't take in everything she says as the truth, but I get it. Where I'm walking by somebody, you almost feel the hurt, you know?
Oh yeah.
I'm not an empath.
No.
I just think it's human dynamics. I think I know people's mannerisms, and when you're around somebody enough, I know if Dave's having a bad day, you know.
And you do. There's no doubt. I don't think it means you're psychic.
Yeah.
But if you pick up energy from
Right.
people, because we all have energy.
Right.
Like, I
That guy gives
remember-
me a bad vibes. I
Mhm,
mean, we all
absolutely.
say it.
We all have intuition.
Right.
But like even like so, I had this odd thing that like when I remember being a kid, because back in the 80s, kids spent the night at each other's houses, right? People don't do that anymore
no.
because we're all afraid of
Yeah.
bad people. But anyway, I would be in the room with like 10 girls or 20
Yeah.
girls or whatever, and I'd be like laying there trying to fall asleep. I'm like, damn it, somebody's awake, because I could tell somebody was awake
Yep.
because I couldn't fall asleep because there was somebody awake,
Yep.
and I can't sleep in a room if anybody's awake. And so I'd be like, is somebody awake? Yes. Go to sleep. Like, so like, what is that? That's not, I'm not psychic, but
Right.
I could feel the energy of somebody awake.
But
So like,
also-
we
Yeah.
do that. We feel people.
And then we decide whether or not we want to find it. And I think that's where the difference becomes between the cold guys or girls and the people like yourself and even myself, that I'm looking for the next Brett, in the 20s. And Dave's seen me with a lot of young men that work for me and ladies that were mentors. Sometimes I was only with them for a year or two,
Mm-hmm.
Others I had him live at my house for a year and a half. This one young man, trying to help him grow, and he's doing well in life. We don't have much relationship anymore, but I don't
That's cool.
yeah, I don't get deep relationships where they stay in touch with me. I get to help people, or they help me, and then it's sort of like it just sort of fade. And the next one, and my life is a constant change of people, and it's really odd.
Okay.
I don't always like it.
I'm gonna tell you something.
Yeah.
So I think it was a person that my mom met, maybe a priest or a deacon or something, but somebody had a near-death experience, and he said that he died, and that he was shown, okay, in your life, these are the good things that you did, and here are the ripple effects of the good that you did. and so, because it's not just the one person you helped.
Yep.
It's all the people, like, so they're, good chills, right? So
Well, the word ripple, as
He
you
talks
continue,
about ripple
so
effects
you got to see
all the
the
time.
ripple effect of all of the lives that he impacted in a positive way, and how that impacted other people and other
I would
people.
love to see that.
Then he was shown the ripple effects of all the things that he'd done that had hurt somebody.
I already have seen those.
And he said that for him was like, that was hell. But then he got to come back to earth and like live his life, but now he's informed. So I think about that, like, look at all the ripples that you're putting out there.
We had a gentleman that watched one of these shows. I had a guy on that was involved in a 12-step alcoholic program, which many people know. I'm big on, well, I've had a few people talk about it. I don't like to talk about it because if I ever go out drink again, I don't want somebody to go, oh, well, that program doesn't work. That program damn sure does work. Do I implement it? Your program of losing weight works. Will they implement it? You know, now if I want to then recreate it to make it my, oh, well, I like these parts, and then I'll try, well, now I got my own program, and well, now we'll see if it works.
Right.
I had a guy that was in Friday, was sharing his story, and it was one more guy. He's a good-looking fella, jacked up fella, has a good business, had a good, beautiful bride, kids, and gone. Everything's gone. You know, one more time, he was sober like 12 years, and you know, one drink, and that's why I watch on YouTube. I watched this morning. I watched a kid who went across the double line, hanging out with the buddies, tubing, crossed the double line, hit a 12-year-old kid and killed him. And I don't watch that for sensationalism. I watch that to remind me I was nowhere near that yet, but he's been in the car with me before. And there could have been somebody on the road.
Oh,
it was by the grace of God. So some of those people that deal with manslaughter, it could have been me. And I don't want to go back.
My sister-in-law was killed by a drunk driver. She was in a car. There were 4 kids in the car. And so this guy was not a legal resident. He was not 21. And he had gone to a bar and gotten really drunk.
Yep.
And got into fighting with people and got kicked out.
Angry and took off.
Took off trying to hit people in the parking lot.
Oh, so he was trying. Okay.
Yeah, he was, but then went racing down the road. And it's Georgia, so the roads are like this.
Yep.
Came up over a rise in their side of the road and head on and killed 3 of the 4 kids in that car. And the one that lived had so many things broken and a head injury and all the things. And
when I tell my story, you know, a lot of people are amazed and are touched. And I can tell when they start getting emotionally tied in, and then I tell them the real stories. Oh, don't put me on a pedestal. I took my wife on a 120-mile-an-hour ride with cops behind us for 2 hours, asking her if she's scared yet.
wow.
You know, that's the asshole I was.
She stayed with you.
Talk about warrior. Yeah, that was just one.
She's kind of awesome.
There was interventions, not with people, but there was. I had no idea why. But ever since I was a kid, I grew up angry. I mean, I woke up angry. I was always just my mom used to say, "Why are you so?" I didn't know, and it wasn't until my 40s that I began to get an idea of why I was the way I was. Is self-worth. I mean, I showed like I had it, but I really didn't understand what self-worth was about. It wasn't about what my kids thought about me. It wasn't even about what I thought about me. It was what the actual facts were. And well, I wasn't measuring the facts, so I couldn't see the truth. And so then whatever, you know, when people talk about dogs, good dog, bad dog, God, devil, whatever you want to call it, because then they have so much more leverage. And that dog that I was walking for so long, that was my tool to get you off me. Rawr, rawr. Well, people don't realize that leash is loose. It's not a tight leash. That dog turns around on you. And I have not met one person where that dog hasn't bit. And before you know it, I'm being led. And I don't even know it. I think I'm walking that dog, and that dog is walking me. And the only way through gradualism and slow and steady is to, I call it peeling the onion. You just got to slowly peel away like you do with the weight loss. It's, there are issues. Some are physical, some are, impulse controls, and you're not licensed, and yet you have to walk with them. And I mean, you're dealing with things that licensed therapists will ultimately deal with just because you're a friend and a comrade.
Yeah. And then having the books, so that it's kind of a self-guided.
Y'all have a whole system that
Yeah.
they guide themselves on.
Yeah. Well, and so I coach them, but they're going through this book element by element by element, kind of addressing things and figuring things out. And
Do they get to those emotional moments sometimes where they realize it's not weight, it's not food that is the ultimate issue?
yeah.
Because see, alcohol was really not my problem. I was spiritually dead. That was my problem, and which made me selfish and self-centered. And selfishness and self-centeredness ain't gonna do nothing healthy to anybody other than to me, and that ain't even healthy.
Right.
And so I had to learn to be selfless. Well, I didn't know how to be selfless.
You're right.
So I had to have people that walked me through it. Well, if I wasn't willing to listen and be open that there may be another way, I call it just the gift of desperation. We call it. Yeah, we're about to bolt out of here.
Okay.
I'll end with this. We call it the gift of desperation. That's the first God I really met, G-O-D. And it was just, I had no other good ideas. For your case, I was 305 pounds. My way of eating ain't working. It finally had to get to that realization and drop the delusion, which I couldn't do on my own. It took a traumatic event for me. Some people just come to the realization. I had to have judges encourage me strongly to maybe
But
take a different
at
approach.
some point, you were still receptive to the input. So, because some people just continue to fight it.
I'll tell you this, I was broken. I had no more good ideas. I was broken mentally, physically, spiritually, and emotionally. I was going insane. I didn't know why I was doing what I was doing because I was so disciplined in everything else in my life. And yet this one aspect, I didn't wake up needing alcohol. I could go away. I quit drinking for 3.5 years. And then I look at my wife and say, "You think I'm alcoholic?" She's like, "No." And then she remembers me saying this. I said, "Good. Now I'm going to go out there and show you this thing can't beat me." I don't even remember saying that. And that was another 10-year run. Yeah. And I never drank at the house. I always was at the bar. I don't want to get into the drinking stuff because I've told enough of those stories. You have given some dynamic wisdoms that you probably won't even know until you go back and watch this again.
Yeah.
And
Cool.
I would love to have you back on here.
Okay.
Anytime you get an inkling, get a hold of me or Dave and say, "Hey, I got something I want to chit chat about."
Awesome.
If somebody wants to get a hold of you in your life coaching and everything, where would they go?
Health coaching.
No, keep correcting me. In your health coaching, where would they go?
So, text, Facebook.
Would you like me to put your number on the
No.
okay, so
Yeah.
I'll put it in the bio and everything in the
Sure.
description. I'll have all her contact information. If you struggled with weight, listen, it's not just one parameter. And I think what they do is, and I looked
Yeah, it
into
could
y'all.
be somebody saying, "Hey, I've got, I had a friend reach out to me and say, 'Hey, my doctor told me I'm pre-diabetic and I just don't want to go down that path. Help.'"
Because then
Yeah.
you're looking at Dave and he's dealt with it.
Yep.
He's missing one leg and missing toes on his other foot.
and like I don't want to be diabetic.
Yep.
We can.
Yep. I was pre-diabetic, and I have gotten much better, and everything's fallen in line. So if you have those, if you've tried everything, this isn't a pitch. She's not paying to be here. It's more for her who she is as a person. But I think what you do as a job also plays a big part in that. She's built for helping people grow out of the negativity of food and how to get around it. And they have a system that you do it on your own as well. So I'll post a link to that company as well and a link to get a hold of her. Thank y'all so much for this week. We'll be back next week with Zach Elkins. We're going to be punching. He ain't going to punch me. I'll promise you that. Not because he can't, but because he loves me. Right, Zach? You do love me, right? Thank y'all so much. Listen, comment, share, like, tell your friends about us. We're just here to help. Appreciate you folks. See you soon.
Awesome.
Know how to put in work, grinding all day, it's game on. My skin is thick, yeah, it's tough. Running, yeah, we stay alive. Ain't
Always
gotta look
forget the
nowhere
purple.
else. All of this greatness inside.